Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is the guy to light my beacons, my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Ryan, I regret to inform you that the people on this podcast today, unfortunately, could not defeat the Night Witch. We couldn't do it. It's only men. It's only the fellas.
It's only the fellas today.
And that's not what it takes.
The fellowship of the ring. You know what I'm saying?
This is Return of the Kings. That's what we got today.
There you go, buddy. Yeah, buddy. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking Return of the King.
We're talking Return of the King, the conclusion of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
How you feel, buddy? We're here.
What a journey. An incredible journey.
Yeah. An unexpected one?
In many ways, yes.
In many ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you especially, because this whole idea of this movie series was to get you to sit down and finally rewatch these movies.
Yeah.
And you've liked two of them so far. You really like two of them so far.
And this is the one that my memory was I liked the least.
Yeah?
I was like, oh my God, why doesn't this thing end? But I've rewatched it, and we will see if I feel.
I think this was the one that made the most money in theaters, if I'm not mistaken, because it was the end.
Yeah,
and so you know what people were saying? The opposite of what you were saying. They kept going back.
I wish it would never end.
I wish it would never end. Give me more.
Give me 3 Hobbits.
They were Britney Spears. Give me more. Give me more. Give me more.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And then you know what? He gave him more a couple of years later.
He did.
And that didn't work out, did it, buddy? We're here to talk about Return of the King. We're not alone, though. We have to bring in a first-time guest.
One more member of the Fellowship.
One more member of the Fellowship. A first-time guest. He is the owner and operator of FilmSpeak. He is a contributor here at AwardsWatch. He's a good friend of ours. We love him. Welcome to Director Watch, Griffin Schiller. Griffin.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be on for this one, just because it is like such a monumental film. I'm like kind of surprised you asked me for Return of the King, but
I'm not.
I'm
Don't
glad
sell yourself short.
Don't sell yourself short. That's what Jay's here for.
Well. I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset that you couldn't get me on for King Kong.
Okay.
Because
big 180 immediately.
Here he goes.
You know damn well that Peter Jackson's King Kong is one of my favorites of all time. So
Yes. Well, we have another guest for that. We haven't revealed who that guest is, even though
can I reveal it?
You can go online. You can go online and deduce based off of these episodes that have released so far.
It's Peter Jackson.
It's Peter Jackson himself.
Yeah, I
can't we say no?
That. I get it.
I know. We had reached out to you after that guest, and that guest picked that. You got second choice, but it's an important second choice nonetheless.
No, it's very
important. And honestly, if you weren't on that one, this was the one that you had to kind of be on, Griff, because this movie's success and its landing virtually then creates that film.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the first two films do that as well for its massive success, but this being what it is, this is maybe one of the most important blockbusters of the 21st century. It definitely also culminates a trilogy that might be one of the most important trilogies of all time.
I mean, I would say it's the most important trilogy at that point in time since the original Star Wars trilogy. It was that monumental.
I think that is very fair.
Very fair. Yeah. Is it okay? I know that we're jumping the gun.
Okay, here we go.
This is what we do.
Let's jump it. Let's go. Let's do it.
Is this, Griff, for you the greatest trilogy of all time?
No, but I mean, you know what is for me, right? Like I'm a Nolan Batman guy, so like that's my trilogy.
Because you're a big Dark Knight Rises guy, and I'm not. That film. Yeah. That's not me joking. That's me being for real. He is.
No. I love Rises. I think.
No, people think that we're sarcastic a lot around here, Jay. That's the reputation that we get, and
I don't know why.
And I'm not being facetious at all when I say
No,
that
no, no,
Griffin's
no.
favorite of that trilogy is actually The Dark Knight Rises, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
we could
just
go
spitting
into
facts.
that if you want.
I
but-
mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to, I think we kind of did because we did a Nolan episode on the main
we
show.
did.
But
yeah.
if you want to remind everybody why that is your favorite,
I mean, I just think emotionally it hits all the beats. I mean, I think it's Nolan kind of just like having fun with Batman as a character in a way that's reminiscent to the big bombastic Bond films. Like the movie really does feel like a Spy Who Loved Me kind of you only live twice kind of riff before he gets to Tenet. And I think with Tenet he kind of figured out what worked and what didn't work about The Dark Knight Rises. But I don't know. It's like I think there's like a lot of great moments. There's a lot of like solid action. I just think
great death scene at the end with Marianne Cotillard.
Yeah. Your sarcasm buttons on.
There you go.
You're like Tars.
You're a big guy.
You're a big guy.
That's one of my favorite
Yeah,
ones.
that's
For you.
Jay does that all the
I do
time.
it
I
all the
kid
time.
you not.
You're a big guy.
Yeah.
Dude, that whole scene is so quotable.
The opening
It's great.
scene of
For
The Dark Knight
you.
Rises
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
And it
It
is
rips,
totally
man.
100% a License from James Bond.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, it's
no-
License to Kill.
But it's
That's
way
License-
better.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's way better
yeah it
because
is.
it's like
Yeah.
I agree.
crashing this plane. Yeah, I mean,
so
like
good.
it's
See?
it's so
God.
good. Yeah,
Tom Hardy as
Hardy,
Bane does not get the love he deserves sometimes.
awesome.
I think he
Well,
gets overly memed.
I
but-
think down
but
the road-
similar- Well,
I think-
all I was going to
yeah.
say was that, like, similar to Return of the King, to kind of like loop it back around to what we're here for. I think that film
What a pro.
benefits from being the culmination of those Batman movies and hitting those emotional beats so that you feel satisfied and you're able to kind of like view that trilogy as this entire journey. And I think similarly, like, Return of the King accomplishes that and manages to, deliver on all those emotional moments that you're expecting from the beginning of the first film.
down the road we're gonna have to do Nolan. I think we're just gonna have to do it.
Nolan would be a lot of fun because I wasn't
Yeah.
a Nolan guy.
Maybe we
until
do.
all of a sudden I became a Nolan guy.
I mean, Jay, what if we did him next year? Because he's got the Odyssey coming
That
out.
would be a lot of fun.
There you
Yeah,
that
go.
would be a lot.
leading
Of
up to the Odyssey.
I kind of got a feeling. What if we did Man and then we did Nolan? That would be.
shit.
Yeah.
I mean- Those are a couple of series for the boys.
yeah, that's yeah, exactly.
Those are
We'd
some
have
for
to
the fellas.
we'd have to
Yeah, it's for the
overcompensate the other way after all that testosterone for like first 3 months of the year.
Then you have Greta for Narnia, so there you go. I mean,
Yeah,
or have
there
you
you
done
go.
Greta yet?
No,
We've
we
not
haven't
done
done
Greta
Greta.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then there you go.
Can I say something? This is safe space amongst the boys.
All out.
I'm nervous about that movie.
Are you worried about Narnia?
I'm worried about Narnia.
Interesting.
I know a lot of people say that about, like, people have said that a lot about Greta's work. They said that about Little Women. I wasn't worried about Little Women. They said that about
I
Barbie.
was worried about Barbie.
You were worried about Barbie, big time.
I was. Yeah.
But
And look, Barbie's her worst movie.
it's still really
But if
good.
that's your worst movie, you're
That's-
doing okay.
You're doing okay.
Yeah, that's
But
cool. Yeah.
but this thing just the rumored casting choices, the fact
weird.
that she said, or I think it's the IMAX chief said that she's going to do all 8. She's going to do 8 movies of this, scares the ever living
See
shit
about
out of
that.
me. Like,
I mean,
it's
honestly,
Yeah.
that just seems like opportunity cost out the wazoo. I mean,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sucks if
Yeah,
that's
I
what she's
agree.
going to be doing for the next 10 years.
she like Big Jim'd. You know what? Big Jim did this to her because remember during the Barbie season, he was like in his underground secret volcano underwater lair, right? And
Yeah, he was on.
and-
He was on the Titanic.
and he did exactly. And he was underneath and he did like a Zoom meeting with her talking about Barbie and everything. And maybe he just told her, yeah, just make like a universe and you'll be okay. And Narnia's her thing.
You know what's awesome? Getting paid to make one movie every 7 years. It rules. On
yeah,
average.
but then you know what's funny? Those movies then make $3 billion and you can justify that cost.
It's true.
I
It's true.
want to write an essay on like James Cameron's grapple hold on what audiences like. It's unbelievable. He
It is, yeah.
he is
Dude, that movie's
undefeated.
coming out
Yeah.
this year and it's
Yeah.
gonna make
He's
another
crazy.
$2.5 billion.
Hey, where's
he's-
Cameron?
he's the man.
Where's Cameron Watch? Is that coming?
Oh, we've done that before.
We did that back
you did
in
do it.
the
Okay.
back in the day,
Cameron
yeah. Because
Watch.
Ryan was a Cameron skeptic. I mean, he was like,
I do remember that. Yeah,
Loki
yeah.
sucks.
Big Jim was
Ryan, we're gonna watch him, and you're gonna like him.
Yeah,
and sure enough,
and then I did.
Lo and behold, here we are.
I love Big Jim. Big Jim's my guy. Like, I cried during The Way of Water, and I hated the first. And I hated the first Avatar.
I still don't love
that movie.
The first Avatar. Yeah, but Way of Water absolutely rules.
Because then it turned. Because it also like there's like half a dozen things in The Way of Water that are the most stupidest things I've ever seen, but because he's got that thing that, to loop it back to Return of the King and Peter Jackson, he's got that sentimentality, that emotionality,
sincerity. It just feels so true to itself.
It just is unapologetically it, and it does, and it grounds it within character. Like that was the thing I thought about when The Way of Water was that it did it better, was like the first film's all about the spectacle, and I think that's why it's such a disappointment outside of like it just being like a pretty straight up average film. And then it became about that family and that dynamic, and Cameron just
and the world.
And the world, yes, but
which the first one is as well.
Exactly, but like again, at the core of it was this
love it.
Family. And it was, and that's
what. Also, Sam Worthington got a lot better at acting.
Yeah, he really did. Like a decade and a half off.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the Fire Tribe and just seeing all the elements. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah,
wish it was still called the Seed Bear.
Oh man, it should be.
Seed Bear.
It will always be the Seed Bear to me, baby. Griffin.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Return of the King. That's what we're here for. But before we do that,
obviously.
Peter Jackson. Yeah, obviously so far
we're
here for.
Hey, but you know what? We didn't derail too much, right? Because we were talking about Greta doing Narnia, which is linked to Tolkien and
fantasy,
fantasy. Yeah.
Then to spectacle.
We've done far worse.
We've done way worse.
Yeah. We've done way worse. Griffin, Peter Jackson.
Yeah,
I would say like a guy that you hold a special place in your heart based off of conversations that we've had. Interesting. Interesting filmmaker. So I'm curious for yourself about Jackson. What do you like about him? What maybe you don't like about him as a filmmaker? And then your relationship with Lord of the Rings in these three films. And if you have like a great Lord of the Rings story about, I don't know if you saw these in theaters or not, or for Jay.
No. Yeah.
Jay didn't see him in theaters. I got to see him a ton. So
wasn't allowed. Kind
of curious to see where your experience was with this trilogy before we get into the film.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll just start with that because no, I didn't see them in theaters. I mean, my parents weren't really big Lord of the Rings people, so I don't think I was really introduced to it through them or anything. Like we were more like a Star Wars household, so like I was really big into that. And they just I don't know, they couldn't really get on the same wavelength with Lord of the Rings. Honestly, my exposure to Lord of the Rings growing up was the TNT marathons. Those were the ones where I would like sit there for an afternoon and then just kind of like watch through all the films and really like take it in, or like
spend a cool 5 hours with
Return of the King. Right. Yeah. It's like it's a whole ass journey. But yeah, and I don't know. I feel like my, like as I got older, like my favorites kind of like fluctuated around, there was a really long stretch where Two Towers was my favorite. And that was probably my favorite for the longest time until I think I got a little bit older, and then I really gravitated towards Fellowship, and Fellowship still remains my favorite of the three. But that's not to say that Return of the King is bad. I just think that I really prefer. I love what those first two films do, but I think this one just has so much emotional payoff and really like profound moments. And actually rewatching it this go around, I was texting you, Ryan, like I really dug what they were doing with Éowyn and Theoden, and like I've always loved Theoden as a character, and like the whole Rohan subplot is super super powerful. But I love Éowyn so much. Like she just is like yeah, I know it's like the I'm no man moment, which is I'm no man moment, and that's like really cool and badass. But like everything up until that point, like her just wanting to get involved, and then the fallout with her dad's death, and then how that causes her to gravitate towards Faramir, like that all that, it's so poetic and beautiful, and it's not even the focal point of the movie, but it is like a really compelling subplot. So I loved watching that this go around. But as in terms of like Jackson as a filmmaker, yeah, I love Peter Jackson. I mean, I mainly just because that King Kong movie, I adore. I mean, I had that thing on loop all the time as a kid. I remember seeing it with my dad in theaters, and like that really stuck out to me. A lot of my like early, theater going experiences, that I remember are just when I would go with my dad because he wouldn't go all the time. So like if he was going with me, and specifically with me, it was just one of those like, oh shit, okay, like this is kind of cool because it was so infrequent, and we both loved that movie. It was. I think the thing that always struck me about like his King Kong film, and one of the things that I think I gravitated to with his Lord of the Rings movies was just how he's able to make, similar to like a Steven Spielberg, he's able to make like dark things really accessible and intriguing. He depicts it in a way where like as a kid you feel like, oh shit, this is like a little edgy, like I shouldn't necessarily be watching this, and like some of this stuff is like genuinely frightening, but it never like is so frightening where it's gonna like completely deter you from ever like watching another film in that genre again, or another creature feature again. It's I don't know, it's just really cool the way he's able to balance like the darkness with just like these very sincere and emotional moments. He's up there with like you said, what we were just talking about, with the Jim Camerons, with the George Lucases and the Steven Spielbergs, who are able to really like balance those things in a way that is accessible for younger audiences, but still plays just as well when you're older. And I mean, I know he's also a big like tech guy, like obviously all the stuff he did with the Beatles documentaries, and the They Shall Not Grow Old, the World War I documentary. I mean, those are brilliant films, but I've never really like gravitated to him for the technical shit. Like I think it's cool. Like it's awesome that these movies hold up as well as they do, and that King Kong holds up as well as it does. But I think similar to a George Lucas, it's just how he's able to use the technology in a way to just like bring these worlds to life with such texture and detail. And I mean, I think I was texting you, Ryan, like there's like a clear delineation for like the filmmakers who came to prominence working exclusively in digital and visual effects versus those who had to start doing it the analog way and then had to start doing stuff with effects and whatnot. Like there's a real understanding from someone like a Peter Jackson or like a George Lucas with his prequels of like what those tools can do for you, and they're all and he's using them as if he would use any analog tool, which I think is why these movies have aged as well as they have. So yeah, I mean, like I've always admired that about him, but I love his sincerity, the fact that he's interested in these like sweeping epics, that he's able to root it in character, and he's able to bring in darker elements, because of his horror background and such. And he's just I don't know, he's just like a cool dude. He's just like a guy who loves fantasy and creatures, and
he likes spectacle.
Yeah, he likes spectacle. Yeah.
Well, Spectacle loves his toys.
Yeah, Spectacle does love his toys. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Anyways, that's just my long-winded, kind of Peter Jackson-ish.
I mean, like he's, that was the thing, Griffin, you and I were talking about because we were watching this, and
yeah,
Jay, I know you had this feeling too, because when you watch the Lord of the Rings films, you're like, God damn it, why don't they make movies like this anymore? And then and then this, recently, the Revenge of the Sith got put back in the theaters, and it made just as much as like a new release. And you sit there and you go like, why is that? Well, one, that movie has been like, I think Chris Ryan said this on The Big Picture. He's like, that movie is
every generation has their Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah. And
then
for our generation, that was the Star Wars. Like when we grew up, the prequels, for better or for worse, and that's the best one. And that's like the one where it's like, okay, all the technology, all the love story, all the other bullshit, George set all that aside and got actually to the point, which is the darkness of that story. Anakin's turned to the dark side.
It's definitely the easiest one. It's the most palatable in like a traditional sense.
Well, it's also been the most like
Yeah.
politically corrupted one by the right for like this allegory of like
has
a
that
fallen
happened?
America.
I'm
Yeah,
not familiar.
It
with
is.
that.
Which is honestly insane because of how it is the most explicit he gets in what he's trying to say. Like, I think the cool thing about those Star Wars prequels is how in each film he's basically reiterating and refining what he kind of wanted to do with these. And unfortunately, I think it really did take 9/11 for all of it to kind of come into prominence and come into focus with Revenge of the Sith. But to your point, it is so weird how it's been co-opted by the right. Like it is just like
Is that I am not familiar.
Jay,
with
no,
what,
for real,
What,
like,
what
they-
has
like
happened?
people
Like-
see Anakin as a hero. Like
Yeah,
it's
they see
fucking
this.
insane.
They see that like
It's like
Palpatine
red
and
pill.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
like a full like his switch to the dark side is actually good because then it like gets rid of like the Jedi hippy dippy, peace loving throughout the
So
galaxy
it's
sort of shit.
Kind of the
Yeah.
same way that the Matrix has been co-opted.
Well, how the Matrix? How?
The red pill, man.
Oh, well,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I mean, the it's all about rejecting what the norm is sitting in front of you and
Yeah, and George is always
bending
talked
that
about.
into your own demented views of the world.
Yeah,
Well, that
George,
and the iconography too, I think has really been co-opted by the right.
Yeah.
The sunglasses and the leather. And,
Yeah, which is funny because like it's made by two trans filmmakers and it's a trans allegory through and through. Like
Well,
and
that's
then,
the thing. Like,
and then
there's
even
so
to
many-
the new one, it's like
Yeah,
That's
we're
what
doubling down
Matrix
on this.
Resurrections is about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Your film,
exactly,
That's why
yeah,
that movie
yeah.
rules.
and that's why
Yeah, no, it does.
whatever
I love that film. Yeah,
that's why whatever Drew Goddard does is not allowed in this house. Listen, Drew Goddard, probably fine human being, has no business touching that franchise. Nobody should touch that franchise outside the Wachowskis. Like,
Oh,
period.
okay.
it's so intrinsic to their being. Like it is the story of them in a lot of ways.
To
So
me,
I don't-
honestly,
Weirdly, some of the most personal movies ever made.
yeah.
Matrix.
straight up,
Yeah.
straight up, yeah.
And then also, like, weirdly, I get, like, how Griffin and I have talked about this over the years about Star Wars, and we go back and forth because we're, big fans of it. I think that with the Disney regime, there's been some good stuff, there's been some bad stuff. That's going to be just how it is with franchise filmmaking nowadays.
Yeah.
But I'm not as precious about Star Wars as, like, some of these online dildos are. But with the Matrix, I'm like, no, I don't want anybody touching that because that's so original, and those filmmakers still have so much to say if they want to say anything within that. And literally, we just saw that. It's not like Lucas, who's like showed that, yeah, he wanted to make 3 films. It took 1 out of 3 to get the point. But you're right, Griffin, he's making the same points. But you have the Jar Jar stuff, and you have the Sanders Course, and you have like a lot of like
Well,
the
so
weird
even
shit
the
in the
original
prequel,
trilogy, he only directed one of the
Yeah.
3.
Right,
Yeah,
So it's
the
not
best
like
fil-
he
the
has
best Star
full
Wars films-
ownership over those movies.
Yeah, the best Star
Yeah.
Wars films are not directed by George Lucas. Like,
Yeah.
Old Georgie.
Empire Strikes Back and Last Jedi are not his directorial vision. Though on the page,
And Last
Empire
Jedi, a
is
totally uncontroversial, great
Exactly.
Star Wars.
No,
film. Everybody
exactly.
loves that movie.
Everybody loves that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? They all got what they deserved with Rise of Skywalker because of it.
That is, yeah.
So if you just would have shut up and embraced it, then you would have been okay. You know what I mean?
I do
go of
like
the
how you
past.
stated Last Jedi as the second best Star Wars movie as sort of an accepted fact.
It is.
I
And you
want to
know
funny
You want to know why it's an accepted fact? Because the
Bold.
article is up on
because you think
awardswatch.com.
so? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
yeah. There you go. Yeah.
The article is up at awardswatch.com. Wrote that a year ago.
Good website.
Good website.
Great
It's
website.
probably where we work. But then you have this movie, and I think
Yeah.
that this is like, oh man, Griff. I don't know, Griff. You didn't watch these in the theaters.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
When,
yeah,
so
yeah.
So when did you watch them at home?
Yeah, I watched.
Was this during
during
that time, or did you or was this years after everything, like Jay? Because Jay didn't watch them during the years it came out, but
No, I mean I watched it like I don't even know. Whenever they were doing like whenever TNT had the television rights to show the entire movie,
which is like a
I don't know
couple
if
of
that
years.
was.
I think it was like
Well,
2
yeah.
or
Like
yeah.
05, 06?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was all 3 of them. So it would have been like the late early 2000s.
Okay.
Early 2010s is when I watched all of them. So I had seen all of them before the first Hobbit movie had come out. So,
can I tell you guys something about seeing this in the theaters? Because since I'm the only one that was there at the time, not to brag, this was one of still the craziest films I've ever seen in a theater opening night.
Because of the chicken jockey thing?
Yeah. La 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 lava. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna sing it. You know that's on the Billboard Top 100 list for songs now, Jay? Did you know that?
Don't have any idea what you're talking about.
The chicken jockey song that Jack Black sings in the
There's
Minecraft
a song
movie?
associated with chicken jockey?
Yeah, it's like
I just thought he just went, chicken jockey.
Yeah, but he there's like a 30, no, it's not even 30 seconds. I think it's like 20-second song. It's the shortest song ever to be on the Billboard Top 100.
So between that and Peaches, he's like...
Jack Black
star.
is I'm telling you, when we talk about King Kong next week, it's like he's an enterprise at this point. But anyway,
crazy.
So back then, this is 2003, they didn't have reserved seats. Reserved seats in San Antonio didn't start till about 2010.
Those didn't start until way later.
Yeah, 2012 maybe. And so the way you bought tickets in advance was you actually had to go to the theater, because you couldn't rely on it online. You had to go to the theater.
I do remember those days.
You had to go up to the booth. You had to,
I would like to buy a ticket for 2.5 weeks from now, please.
Tried 3.5 months. They started selling this bad boy, and they had it it was like Force Awakens. Every theater was playing it starting at midnight, and they were playing it on a run.
A true midnight.
Yeah, exactly.
That was when the real heads were out there.
Now, I didn't see it at midnight. I saw it at a 9:40 screening
on Friday.
And
9:40 p.m. or a.m.
p.m.
Yeah, maybe not less a real head, but close.
I'm still getting out at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like 11. And I went with my cousins. It was originally going to be my dad, but we were having sadly we had like a family member pass away, and then everybody was spending a lot of time at the hospital, and my cousins were just like there, and I was like, I asked my dad, I was like, can I use your tickets to get them out, just to get them out of here? And they loved the first two films, and we actually saw Fellowship all together, and I was like, I just want to get them out of here. And my dad was super nice. He's like, yeah, that's fine, we'll see it. It's not like you're not going to want to see this movie again, and because he's going to want to see it. And so we did. It was like 9:40, fourth
and then
row.
You watched a movie that is like 40% about death.
Yeah, for real. It was all, and but I'm going to tell you, we had the movies at 9:40. We got in line at 8:20 because you had to get in line to get your seats.
Yeah.
And
trying to get the rail at a concert.
It was exactly, buddy. That's exactly. No, he's not wrong. And it was nuts. It was crazy. I still remember the people behind like the concession stands. It looked like the opening to Saving Private Ryan. Like the girl was just like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? And I remember people were cheering. And they were crying, and this movie was like what you hear when your parents tell you about when they saw Star Wars in theaters. It was like they stuck the landing, they did it. It was incredible. And so I saw this movie 3 times in theaters, and I saw them weeks apart.
Nerd.
And they were, yes, I know, I'm a nerd. And they were sold out every time. Every time I went.
This movie made a lot of money.
It made a shit ton of money. And this was like this for months. So the moral of the story is keep your fucking movies in theaters, because people will get to them and they will see them and they will watch them if they are good and worthy of this.
Theatrical environment was a little different back then. But I mostly understand your point.
No, it's still the case, because they're taking out fucking Sinners out of IMAX screens for Thunderbolts, and people still want to see Sinners in the fucking IMAX.
That's a different thing. That's
what I mean?
That's a Disney flex, is what that is.
Yeah, that's the whole Tarantino. What was it? Was that Hateful Eight
they're
thing.
trying to fuck me. Yeah,
They are trying to fuck
To
me.
fuck me.
Yeah.
Well, the real tragedy is that there's not more IMAX theaters across the countries. Well,
There should be.
Oh, I guarantee you, they're going to have a massive like surge in the next couple of years. But there should be more IMAX theaters equipped to play 70 millimeter.
It should just be IMAX theaters. Period.
There's only a handful in America. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean,
And
if you don't live in LA, New York. I mean, I'm lucky in Atlanta we get to do that.
We have
sometimes.
some down here, but I mean also too, that theater that I saw Return of the King at no longer exists. They tore it down during COVID. It was so what I think I've told Jay this
Sort of like
before.
an Isengard.
So
situation.
yeah, it was an Isengard. It's an Isengard situation.
you know what's actually funny? The theater that I saw King Kong in doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That went away.
Really? The one that I saw King Kong still exists, but the one that I saw Fellowship and Two Towers still exists. But what they used to do, and I've told this before, and Jay, I apologize for saying this again, but in my area there were two theaters. One was a Regal and one was an AMC, and they would split the theatrical release slate. So the movies that you saw at this place
were crazy.
Were not the same films that you saw of
Collusion.
like literally 3 blocks away. And so the first 2 Lord of the Rings were over at the AMC. The Regal had Fellowship, but I think like some other big movies were over at the AMC. Like they split it up. It was like a draft, and in a lot of ways,
bizarre.
It was very weird, but very cool at the same time. And it helped both of those local.
And you know what? Back then, they could both survive that way.
Exactly.
And nowadays, absolutely not.
Well, the Regal got bought out by the AMC, and then the AMC's left town. So then Regal bought both buildings and turned the original Regal into a dollar theater. And it was a dollar theater all the way until the pandemic. And now dollar theaters no longer exist.
Dollar theaters aren't really
like discount theaters no longer exist in America post-pandemic, and it makes absolutely no sense because of the fact that like if you had these second run theaters,
I think it makes complete sense actually.
Well, it's to eliminate it and put it all on streaming, which I understand.
But
like
VOD is much more profitable than
I know, but the theaters,
dollar theaters, are just
but the theaters
not,
don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Or shouldn't want to do that.
Well, they can't make money doing it.
Yeah, it's you can't really pay the bills when your prices are so low, and then you're also having to compete with streaming.
Well, it's all about
the demand is lower, and your theaters are crummier, and it's
the tickets aren't
the
tickets aren't the point.
It gives me a better experience. Than
it's actually no, it's better for the theaters, and it's not for the studios because like. The tickets, they're not going to make. The studios aren't going to make anything on the tickets because they've already made their money on the tickets. It's about the concessions that are still the same price.
It's all around these days a bad business model.
Yeah, it's just Yeah, but you know what?
Doesn't work for anybody.
You know what? Just listen to Ted. He's got good answers for it over at Netflix, right?
Ted, the teddy bear.
Yeah, the guy that
Ted.
Ted Sarandos. Anyway,
oh yeah,
fuck ass Ted.
Not the vulgar.
No. Well, I mean, you don't. Well, you don't know. You don't know if it's not based off of him. You know, Jay?
Yeah, what does McFarlane know that we don't?
Yeah, exactly. What, Jay?
The generic term for stuffed animals these days is stuffy. Has that been a thing? When I was a kid, I feel like it was just stuffed animal. I don't think it was stuffy.
Yeah.
Or just it's stuffed animal. Like this sounds.
I think stuffy is just like the term for plush these days. Do you just call it a stuffy?
It sounds like a British slang almost that was brought over.
Stuffy.
It's a little bit of a stuffy, isn't it?
Take fish and chips in a stuffy.
Stuffy. Yeah. Don't forget your stuffy, love.
Anyway,
you know what I mean? Anyway.
That's my parent corner.
Return of the King. Griffin.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold off on your thoughts because I think I know your thoughts on this, and I don't know. I want to go to Jay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because, Jay, you have been on this ride, buddy, this whole entire ride. You loved Fellowship. Well, first of all, for Griffin, since he doesn't know, Jay hasn't seen these movies in about 15 years. He does not hold an affinity for them. He's agnostic when it comes to them. And so we did this whole...
care. I was a Potter kid.
Yeah, he was a Potter guy.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I was definitely more of a Potter kid, too.
And so my whole thing for 8 years is trying to get him to watch these movies. And he watched Fellowship of the Ring, and he absolutely loved it. And then he watched Two Towers. little bit lesser on it, but still really liked it.
Great movie.
Great movie. And he's been watching both the theatrical and the extended cuts for this
What
series.
the fuck? Have you been watching them back to back?
Yeah, I did the math. I've watched 21 hours of Lord of the Rings
Holy shit!
in the last
man.
month.
Yeah.
Been
So
That's
so now we get to
right.
the finale of this trilogy. Jay Ledbetter, your thoughts on Return of the King?
Yeah, this when I saw this when I was in high school, I do remember my thoughts just being, "Oh my God, just end already." I mean, in my mind, I was like,
No, English patient.
the
Just
the
die
ring
already.
the ring sits on
The lava?
the rock on the lava for 45 seconds. They're walking up the mountain for 45 minutes. It's just interminable. And then I watched it this time, and I was like, the parts starting with when they essentially start their true trek up the top of Mount Doom until they dispose of the ring is some of the greatest cinema I've ever seen in my entire life. I think there is a 45 to an hour stretch of this movie in the third act that is just undeniably immaculate. Like maybe the best thing in the entire franchise. That said, there's also stuff that I don't love about it. A lot of endings. A lot of endings,
I knew
guys.
you were gonna
I mean,
do
it's
this.
unbelievable.
I knew you were going to do this.
It's the fact that this does not end on "You Bow to No One" to me is an absolute travesty. I mean, it is unbelievable that we continue past that moment. That gives me absolute chills,
But-
and then we move
okay.
on to these deflating moments. In my opinion, a lot of people feel otherwise, but
Sure.
we can talk about that. It is just overall the way that it builds and decompresses and then rebuilds and decompresses is absolutely immaculate. It is a movie that it never drags at all. Even in the extended cut, my hot take with this film is I think the theatrical cut is like head and shoulders better than the extended cut. I think 80% of what is in the extended cut that isn't in the theatrical is detrimental to the movie, in fact. But we can talk about that.
It's so weird. Not to cut you off. It's so
Yeah.
weird just because like I don't even remember what the theatrical cuts are because I only ever watch the extended cuts.
Yeah,
I know it. I
Yeah.
know exactly what they are, and honestly, Jay's. I'm going to say this, Jay. He's right.
They're not that good. In this
there
one,
are-
I think in Two Towers, it's
Yeah, Two Towers
better.
Yeah.
I think Two Towers and Fellowship, their extended cuts are immaculate.
Fellowship, I'm indifferent on. This one, I truly think is worse.
I think that every time I've watched this one in the theater specifically, I go, "Fuck! I kind of wish we were just watching the theatrical because there are
A lot of it is redundant.
There's a
or-
couple of things that I do like a lot that add to certain characters.
Faramir stuff.
Yeah.
Faramir just gets like so much better on the extendeds.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Faramir
yeah, yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
the
all that-
the
yeah,
conclusion of Awen's sort of storyline, like her
Yeah.
storyline with him at the end is great. But then you have, I used to be like a really big, like, okay, I'm glad that they have the Saruman stuff in this.
The Saruman death in this movie is terrible.
Well, it's
It's
terrible.
terrible.
That Christopher Lee actually told them that's how you're supposed to stab somebody. And
Oh, I thought you were going to say Christopher Lee actually died making
I
this
think-
movie,
yeah,
which
he,
I
like,
would have. Which I
actually
would have.
fell
no,
in.
he told him like this is actually how you're supposed to stab someone because he used to be like a spy. And
Yeah, he killed Nazis. It
And
was
he
great.
killed Nazis and everything. And
Yeah.
goes, you don't stab him this way. You do it this way, and that's how. And so
I don't
he
care
was
about that.
directing
That scene.
Peter
makes
Jackson and
absolutely
everything.
No sense.
Well, I think the thing about that is that it makes sense from the standpoint that it is tying the loose ends of Two Towers up, and it always did feel weird in the theatrical cut to not have Saruman, who's been such a giant part of these two first chapters of this trilogy, not in it at all. And that they're like, I guess he's dead, or he died, or that the trees killed him, or whatever. And
are you telling me that that's not in the theatrical cut?
it's
of
not
the
in the
movie?
theatrical cut at all,
That's
right, Jay?
No.
insane.
No,
That
they
is
just say that
insane.
he's stuck in the tower, I think.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just said like he's in there, got to get him out. You know,
What?
can't, yeah. And
I'm starting to wonder if I've ever actually seen the theatrical cut of this movie because I have never seen a version of this where he is not in it.
the stuff that doesn't work in the theatrical cut, though, I mean, in the extended cut, and is detrimental to Jay's point, is the stuff with the ghosts and Aragorn.
Oh my god, that is
Yeah.
like brutal.
Because here's the thing, in the theatrical cut, so you have the moment in the cave where he goes, you know, hold you to your oath and everything.
Yeah.
And then they come out and they see the ships and he's like devastated. And then it cuts away. And then the next time you see Aragorn, it's him getting off the ships at Gondor and the ghost army appears and it's so badass. Like, Jay, I don't know if you agree, but from a reveal standpoint,
because it is not explicitly stated that the ghosts are on their side yet.
Exactly.
And so then they appear. Have you, Griffin, I guess the big question is, have you ever seen a cut? In your memory, have you seen a version that doesn't have the giant skull avalanche in it?
No, I don't think
So
so.
he's only seen
That's
when I was
only,
watching-
that's only in the extended edition.
I do
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
I do like the skulls, to be fair. The skulls are
Yeah,
I
I don't
like
mind the
ish
skull
that
thing.
part. It is
kinda cool.
absolutely ridiculous that after that, all of a sudden, the head ghost just comes out and he's like,
Fuck
I'm on
yeah.
your side, though.
Yeah.
Pretty
Well, it's
cool.
because that's the
That's
king.
fair.
I know
But
we tried to kill you, but
But then there's
Yeah.
the stuff by the lake where he's just like, like let's file a warning shot, and then they're like, prepare to be boarded and all that. That's not in the theatrical cut. So the next time you see Aragorn is you see him in Gondor with the Ghost Army on those ships I remember that happening and that was the big moment of, oh my God, holy shit
Yeah, it's a
moment
massive
because
moment,
it's such a reveal. If you hadn't read the books, you don't know about any of that. You know what I mean? So it's actually brilliant, because you forget about that's, or, you forget about it because you're invested in all these other characters.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
such
yeah.
a great reveal by Jackson in the theatrical cut. And it's also the one in the extended cut. I'm like, God damn it. He really you put it like it's all on the nose at that point, and it's not as cool. That's the thing, is it loses a little bit of cool factor. Big time. Right, Jay?
I mean, there is some stuff that is cool. There's a lot of stuff that people like. I think the most famous edition is the Mouth of Sauron thing.
Oh
towards
yeah,
the
I did
end.
know
That's
that
pretty
one's an
cool.
addition. Yeah, I like
it
that.
is cool. I
That's
don't like that Aragorn just cuts his head off.
Hell yeah.
That feels out of character for him.
Well, he's a little upset,
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the old Aragorn kind of coming out there. A
That's
bit.
the
Like,
Ranger in him.
Yeah, it's the Ranger.
But he's also
matured a bit.
mad because he's, it's about Frodo.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, it was like he's matured a bit, but it's like when it comes to Frodo, he is like, no.
No.
I'm not fucking.
He swore to
with
protect him.
The sort of visual of the Mouth of Sauron, though, is
Incredible.
awesome.
Yeah.
awesome.
That's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
that's like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think that Del Toro helped him a little bit on that.
That feels like a Del Toro.
You know what I
thing.
mean?
Yeah,
I think that was
absolutely
like a,
feels
like,
Del Toro thing.
Yeah, I think it was played by Marlon Brando, I believe.
Yeah, Marlon Brando. So the thing about being the Mouth of Sauron. No, but I the one actual thing from the extended cut that is the stupidest thing, and it's because of continuity, it drives me nuts, is the moment when like the what is it, the head of the Nazgul, right? Confronts Gandalf as they're riding to stop Faramir.
That is a weird one.
And the staff is destroyed, right? And then a couple minutes later you see the staff's fine. And I'm like, I'd like to see him make the staff again. Continuity wise, it doesn't make any sense. But then also too, like if you watch in the theatrical cut, like you don't need that scene there because he's gonna have the badass scene, with Eowyn later. And also it kind of undercuts a little bit of Rohan's entrance into Gondor. But that being
All right, well, I'm
said,
glad I'm not alone on the extended cut is worse.
but that being said,
There's some cool stuff though.
This movie fucking rules. And I
This
take
movie
all
rules.
that away and I throw it away because I don't give a shit. Cause
There's stuff I don't adore about this movie, even in the theatrical cut. But it is what I will refer to as an imperfect masterpiece. Yep. It has stuff that is so transcendent to me that it more than makes up for the stuff that I don't love about it. I would argue generally, I think this is considered among cinephiles sort of the worst of the three.
Yeah. But I would say critically, this would, in terms of audience, probably the favorite.
Yeah, something up there. I mean, obviously, awards wise,
down.
Huge.
But I'm just talking about in terms of like probably people, because like it's got the most action in it.
General audiences, it has a lot of action. And
it's a war movie,
and it does have some of that noise that I'm not super crazy about. That was also, I think, present in The Two Towers.
Yeah,
I mean that was kind of my take on The Two Towers, which is I'm like, this is an absolutely phenomenal movie. I think it does get a little noisy and kind of blurry, and I zone out a smidge towards the end of the film. This has some of that as well, but it also has 45 of the greatest minutes of cinema I've ever seen in my entire life, and that more than makes up for it. I cry, I laugh. It is absolutely unbelievable. Sean Astin should have been nominated and won an Oscar for this movie. He is unreal in this movie.
Now you understand? Do you understand why I've been saying Sam's my guy?
Griffin, who's your guy?
That year?
No,
Who's your
the characters here?
Who's your guy? I'm an Aragorn guy.
Oh,
Ryan's a Sam guy.
I'm a big Sam guy. I know I pushed back on that, but like then I watched this movie and I was like, Sam's the fucking man.
I think it's Theoden actually. I like Theoden is probably my favorite character in the whole.
He's great.
Series.
I mean,
of the Fellowship. That's
honestly an even cooler.
That's even probably cooler. He's like, fuck the Fellowship. Yeah, I'm going old man.
Give me fucking Theoden. He rules.
Bernard King should have gotten an Oscar nom for this too.
I was literally gonna say, like, as good as Sean Astin is as Sam in this, I think Bernard Hill is just exceptional. Yeah, every single time he takes the stage to just like speak. He speaks with such conviction.
Figured I'm gonna just put my cards on the table. I cried about 6 to 10 times watching this movie this go around, and you cannot judge me for it because I know you all did too. But the moment I completely on the 9,000th rewatch of this picked up the fact that when he's dying and sees Arwen, it's the same line from when he is out of the spell. That Gandalf releases him from Saruman's control in Two Towers, and that's the death of this grip that has been on him for so long, and this is his actual death. And then the ride in to battle is death is their charge, and because they're not afraid of it. But he knew that he could lead and go all out in this battle, and knew that he would give himself up because she is the future of their world, of their kingdom. And it's such a beautiful moment between this uncle, this niece, but really a parental figure that Theoden is to Arwen. So I mean, like that whole sequence blew me away. But then it's his sort of battle cry in there, you know what I mean? And it's great stuff. It's like it's this movie has moments where it has to be big, it has to be bombastic, it has to be a war movie, it has to be the culmination of what you have teased and poked and prodded at this entire it has 7 hours
bigger than the other ones.
Exactly. It has to up the ante, and it does that, but it doesn't sacrifice any of its emotionality and character depth, and pays everything off. And that is the difference between any modern filmmaker.
And then it kind of overpays some stuff off. It's like I didn't need that paid off.
Well, I disagree with you. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I think that it takes so much care of these characters and loves them so much and gives everybody a moment to shine. And that's why, like,
that it absolutely does.
and there's
every character gets like 3 moments.
Yeah, and there exactly,
and
you know, there's, you know, Jay, yeah, you're right. This movie is really about, you know, at the moment, you know, you could throw in that, oh, there's a lot of Deus Machina and all that other bullshit and everything, but that's just how movies like this
definitely
are built.
Some Deus Ex Ghost Army.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
But there is
then he had to get rid of him. He was like, "Hey, you're too fat. We can't use you anymore."
Oh no! I mean, he made a deal. Deal's a deal. You know what I mean? Bye. But the thing,
Captain Marvel going back. I'm a little too busy right now.
I'm a little too busy right now. There's a lot of other universes out there, buddy. But no, I mean, there's still the quiet character moments. I mean, where Pippin is sitting there with as this troll's about to break in on the Tower of Gondor, and Gandalf's talking about the life after, and talking about how death is a part of life. And this is in the middle of the biggest fucking movie of the year in 2003. And it's talking about these beautiful, important things.
This movie's relationship with death was actually my biggest takeaway.
It's like, wow.
Oh, sure.
I mean, this movie is beyond mature for what it's, you know, for a big giant, you know, like $100 million,
someone who
$200 million blockbuster,
like terrified of death. It was like, it's really,
you really got to stop doing this.
Something resembling peace. Yeah.
To your point, that moment did get it's so interesting because it's like the way Ian McKellen delivers that is just so like
incredible.
It's so gentle and it's so like
peaceful.
Exactly. And it's just like, oh wow, it's like and then as soon as he says that, it cuts back to all these like people dying from like the Oliphants and like stuff like that, and you're just like kind of at ease a bit. It recontextualizes the action in a way where like you're still on edge rooting for everything, but then you're seeing all these people die and you're just sort of like, okay, I guess I can sort of make peace with this. And I think that's what's so beautiful about that placement, the placement of that scene. And then also out of all the films, I mean, you're talking about the relationship with death, which I do think is very very much on the forefront of this film's mind. Out of all the films, this is the one where Tolkien's like, I guess
it's like mythology or ideology is very much at the forefront. Yeah,
for sure. I was gonna say his reflection on the Great War kind of came into prominence there, and like you have all these like young people and these ill-equipped people who are like scared and looking to enlist in some capacity, and then kind of making peace for it and kind of growing beyond what they think that they're capable of because of that peace that they've kind of made with themselves about death. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was that this idea of fear and how the enemy only really succeeds when they're able to instill fear in you, and that it is specifically that fear of death. And then it's once all the characters are able to overcome that, once they're able to reconcile with something that is inevitable and not let fear dictate them, that they're able to actually secure victory. And I think that's what's so great about the steward character, because he doesn't do that. Like he just literally he's just like, well, we're all fucked. Good luck. See you later.
And you wonder why Gondor has gone straight to hell.
Yeah, exactly. They have no hope. They're I mean, he's like nihilistic and obviously arrogant and egotistical, but
relevant. I can tell you watch this fucking movie now and you're like, I don't want that king. I don't want a real leader around here.
We're doing great.
Yeah,
We're doing great.
We're doing great.
but it's. I mean, I think what's to that point, watching this film in this day and age, it does kind of give you that like that hopefulness. It does provide just like a light to kind of lead you out of the darkness and not give you such a I don't know, nihilistic, fatalistic like outlook on life. Like there is something powerful not only about the way Jackson directs this film, but like the way he captures like Tolkien's voice, the spiritual side of Tolkien's voice. Because just like cards on the table, for someone who isn't very religious or even spiritual myself, I think something that Jackson does with this film is he makes that accessible without cramming the religious allegory down your throat. Like, it's there, but it's very much he's approaching it in like a broader sense where like even someone like me can be like, you know what, there is something to be said about this, about the piece of it all, about finding hope through that. And I think
well, it's turning
that really struck me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's turning faith into hope.
Yeah,
and I think that
yes,
I think that that's
absolutely.
a big distinction within these films, is that the movie, because if all these things are, you got to have faith, then that would have beat you over the head. But the running theme of these movies is hope. And I mean, you see this throughout the film. It's like when Pippin and Gandalf are talking to Faramir, and they're talking to him about, because he's seen Frodo, right? And there's like this moment of like, oh my God, like he's gonna be okay, right? But then he tells them which path they're on, and it like their demeanor completely changes immediately, because there's like, that is a very dangerous path that they're gonna go on. What they're doing in the sacrifice, right? When the reaction of when Sauron's tower collapses, and you see Merry's reaction of screaming Frodo, and Gandalf, his relief and the almost joy on his face of that this young hobbit who he put his faith, his hope and trust in, delivered. And that's great. And it's like, yes, he did it. But then when the reaction shot that Jackson has immediately right after the volcano exploding, and that reaction switches, and who's the one to ride on those eagles to save them? It's Gandalf. Yeah. Because he feels,
Gandalf rules.
It's that he rules,
this guy that's ever
but
lived.
he feels but there is a responsibility that he has. It goes back to his relationship with him in Fellowship, of just like, he set him on this path from the get-go. And there's that moment when at the beginning when he's talking with Aragorn about like, I feel like I set him to fail, and Aragorn has to tell this wise wizard and
Gandalf
being from the other world,
send him on the mission, and then he's worried about him the whole time. I mean, he's so in love with the hobbits.
Yeah, it's his weakness
for him to save them. And then obviously for him to, in the end, go on this final journey with Frodo and Bilbo.
I mean, he has his faith in the hobbits' reward, and I think in the
that's what Saruman thinks that blinds him. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, in the larger context, what I love about it is it's not faith necessarily in a spiritual sense. It's faith in just each other, and just like the exceptional lengths that we will go to
as
protect
beings,
each other, as people, as humans.
Faith in love, man.
Faith in love, man.
Man. But I got to tell you, this movie, we've the first two films in this series have impeccable openings. And the opening of this movie is maybe one of the darkest openings to a blockbuster ever. The origin of how Smeagol becomes Gollum, which I think, isn't that
they just wanted to give Andy Serkis some FaceTime.
They really did.
Absolutely did. And also they wanted Jackson was like, all right, let me dig back into my horror roots. Let's like give you something.
Let me also show you that it's not just a bunch of CGI. Like, we had to we molded this from this man to the deterioration of where this is, and it is impressive how well that still holds up.
It does kind of feel like Heavenly Creatures.
Very much so.
Yeah,
because like when he's killing him by the side of the river there,
it's tactile.
It's it's with you know, and it's very much
crunching and the choking and
exactly. His cousin, right?
Deagle was his was his name.
The
thing that always impresses me is I love how when his eyes switch to CG, when he opens his eyes, and you know that there's CG, but like it's so seamless with
it's very clear
the practical effects.
Yeah. And I think also being in the cave and in its darkness, I think that's actually really well done.
It's brilliant. Well, and also it's the turning point for the character, right? It's when he becomes Gollum, and then he gets the Gollum eyes, and you're like, oh fuck, this is wow.
But like, the edited sequences in this is so dark, and you're right. It's very much, Yeah, it's horrifying because I was just like, Jesus, yeah, I get
is.
it. You want to be a dark movie, for God's sakes, like, you know.
I do feel like they really upped the technology on Gollum in this movie as well.
A
And I
little
don't
bit
know
more.
if that's correct or not.
I agree. Yeah.
But watching it compared to Two Towers, I was like, because in Two Towers, I really didn't think they had a hold on the lighting
Yeah.
of Gollum. And in this film, I was like, it's pretty seamless. This is
Yeah.
incredibly impressive.
Well, I think also too,
especially considering when it was made.
most of the time you see Gollum in this film, though, you are in darkness because you're in these.
Yeah, I think that
you know,
helps.
that
Yeah.
extremely helps them, and then and you
It's
know,
like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. They work so well because most of the time they're in the dark, and they don't work as
Well,
well when they're in the light.
Yeah, and then the moments when he is in light, I mean, it's in Mount Doom, and it's a little bit more like heightened and stylized, so you can get away.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like he looks fantastic on like in Mount Doom for something that is, you know, where the technology is still evolving, and it is in a very, illuminated environment, I guess, if you will. It is, yeah, I don't know,
maybe like
it's great.
the greatest secondary villain of in the history of film. I mean, my
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
like his
yeah.
Greatest secondary villain in the
'Cause,
history
like, the
of film.
first-
That's
like,
a hard
'cause-
thing to
because
pull out
Sauron
of
is
the top of my head.
the main villain, right? But like he's definitely the second, or if not, you know.
Well, let me ask you this:
Villain
Wouldn't Darth Vader be the?
Ooh,
yeah,
good point.
Yeah.
it's right up there.
Yeah.
They're like probably
I would have to
those
say
are the
that
two.
Darth Vader narrowly beats out Gollum.
Narrowly,
Yeah,
but
I
then
think I might have to
he
go,
turns
yeah.
good, so he's he's not a villain all the way through. You know?
Well, so does Gollum. I
could say
guess
Gollum
doesn't.
does not all the
No,
way.
but he's also
Gollum
not.
turns good and then turns back to bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
within
he's
like 30 minutes of a
It's a
film.
complicated.
he's just he's pitiful. You know?
Yeah,
He's
but
just
once he goes, he's gone.
Oh, he fucking goes.
And that I love once again the split scene by the river of again Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyden just doing that scene again for Jackson there, and having that duality of the hold that the ring has between Gollum and Smeagol there, and I just think all that stuff is, for a lot of people when you're younger, these sequences with Gollum, Sam, and Frodo, they can feel a little tedious because you want to get back to the action bits. You know what I mean? But for this film and this movie to work, you have to be as invested and have this to really show Elijah Wood's full turn into the darkness of the ring as they're getting closer and closer, and how easily he can be manipulated by someone like Gollum, versus then the absolute heart of this entire saga, which is Sam, and how there's that moment where he's battling the spider, which is just an awesome creature design, and everything.
Yeah, that's good
and
stuff.
then
That holds up.
it really does hold up. But then he's holding onto the ring, and every other character
the ring.
every other character would be wanting to take that ring back for themselves, but it's in the delivery that Sean Astin's giving it, it's so perfect for Sam, because he's like, if I give this back to you, I don't think that this is the right thing to do. And it's honestly the most pure character realizing that this thing, if I put it back on my friend's neck, could kill him. And you see that, and there's that hesitation. That's why it's, especially in the extended cut, it's a little elongated to be like, Jesus Christ, like, yeah, this is your burden, but my God, is this thing all consuming and all powerful? And you really do feel the effect of it. And I think that's Wood is very good at pulling that off here. And I think Aston counters that with continuedness of the monologues and the sincerity, and just the wanting to complete this mission to rid this evil. And then that, I mean, I agree. Like, even the CGI when they're battling each other on the steps of Mount Doom, it's that stuff is so good. It holds up so well.
That's good. I feel like that stuff, as visually similar as it is to something we talked about earlier, Revenge of the Sith, I think
Yeah.
the stuff in Return of the King holds up a lot better.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, these movies they mix more practical than special effects. Like this is more on location for the most
that
part.
stuff on Mount Doom though that's artificial.
I know it is.
Through.
I know it is, but
I'm talking about the fight at the end in the
9,000
in
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're talking about on what is that? The Mustafar system?
The lava planet.
Yes.
What I call it.
Though that looks really good. That stuff
It
looks.
does look really
Can
good.
I tell you something?
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh, jeez.
Justice for General Grievous. Good character in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think
love
he's
General
cool.
Grievous.
His design is cool. And I like him.
That movie,
Dude, the close up on his eyes has
Yeah.
aged phenomenal.
It's great. He's got those like yellow eyes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
you know what's the funniest thing about Revenge of the Sith? Not to go on a tangent here.
I mean, the funniest part is when he plops down and is like, "Hello there." I mean, that's funny. That's funny.
But the thing about the first two prequel films is like Natalie Portman's character of Princess Amidala is actually pretty decently written and ties into the political stuff. And then when they get to the actual good movie, they're like, "No, you're pregnant, and we have no use for you anymore."
I
And
know.
you're gonna
that is-
die from being sad.
Yeah, you're just gonna die in this movie, and you're
I
gonna be
googled
like,
greatest secondary villains of all time, and this brings up a great question because if this is a secondary villain, it is the greatest of all time.
"Yeah," because the list sucks, doesn't it?
No, not this one. No, the one I'm about to say.
Oh, okay.
Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs.
Is he?
Well,
Well,
I guess he would be.
I think he's the secondary villain.
Yeah.
is he a villain in that movie?
He's absolutely a
Yeah.
villain.
Wait,
yeah.
don't you mean the late great Hannibal Lecter as our leader talks about?
Have you ever seen Silence of the
Who has
Lambs?
seen Silence of the Lambs? The late great Hannibal Lecter. He'll have you for dinner. And that's what we're doing. We're having him over for dinner.
It really sucks that sometimes he's actually funny.
I know.
Little
It
dinner
sucks.
for little
That's why-
tomatoes.
That's
It
why,
sucks.
not to like completely derail this, but like that's why I hate someone like JD Vance so fucking much because he's
Yeah.
everything that Trump is, but does not have the charisma.
But it just
He's
kills popes.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
he's just an evil person, right?
Yeah.
What is the what is the thing about him killing the Pope? What is the
He was
Oh,
like
well,
one of
that-
the last
he
people
met
that Pope
the
Francis saw. Yeah.
Like hours before he died. And so people are just like, JD Vance has like, the Final Destination curse.
he broke
on
the
him.
tape on the
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
Pope's door?
Exactly. He broke the seal. He did a little conclave, and you know what I mean? Truly crazy that at one point this past week, Conclave and Sinners were the top two films on Letterboxd, which from
That
just
is
a titles alone is very funny for an Easter. For like Easter weekend
and
conclave. But like, yeah, like they never should.
Catholic Church is back. It's
Yeah.
never been more back.
It's never been more back.
Yeah, that's all that.
Speaking of which, yeah, the Little Tomatoes himself, the Steward of Gondor.
Yeah.
God, I gotta tell you, truly one of the most horrific things that Jackson could put in this movie is when he bites that tomato and the blood's coming out of his mouth.
Good. Yeah,
so
that's
good.
That's some
That's-
classic,
Yeah.
Dead Alive.
Yeah,
T-Jack.
it's like, and then you have this peaceful song being sung while this death by firing squad essentially is going on out there, and he's yucking it up. You know what I mean? It does. Griff, go back to your point. It does really tie in well with what Lucas and Jackson and these stories and how they're all, they talk about the meek and the cowards and the people in the positions of power and what they think of us, and how the only thing that we can really rely on is the person next to us and a little bit of hope and prayer.
100%.
It's
100%.
because they.
I mean, that's the thing
Gandalf,
with Stewart. He's just sending people out there to die.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually care.
Doesn't have a battle plan. He thinks the ring.
No.
He's an idiot. He thinks the ring literally is, and he tells Faramir. He tells his son. He's like, I will put this. I would take the ring. I would put it in a vault. Like this isn't a collection item. This is the weapon that will kill us all. What are you talking about? And man, just some of the most like, I was thinking a lot about, speaks to me. Just anytime I saw their relationship, this father-son dynamic, I was just thinking about Walk Hard. wrong kid died. I was thinking it the whole time.
Definitely crossed my mind.
That was crossing my mind.
Yeah.
It was because it's so blunt and just so mean.
Farmier, that's one of my guys, man. I mean, come on.
Good
that
guy.
That guy got a bad draw.
Farmier is great. I do love that character.
That stuff in Two Towers.
The flashbacks with him and Boromir, or just the
great
stuff with him.
stuff.
Yeah, but then also,
Yeah.
I believe, Jay, if I'm not mistaken, when he sees Boromir, that's not in the theatrical. It's only in the extended.
That is an addition.
And I think that's a really good addition because that's
the scene where his dad makes it explicit that I wish Boromir was alive and you had died is not in the theatrical.
And I think that's so great because
essential.
It continues the storyline from what we saw expanded upon in Two Towers and really, nails that home. I mean, also one of the funniest death scenes I think I track it every time he's falling down.
It's so good
in Fire too, and I'm just like, it's so good. But no, I mean there's hope throughout this whole thing. I mean, even the idea of the beacons and me.
I mean, that's just one of those,
I cried.
Chills up the spine moments.
Yeah, man. But I gotta say,
there's 12 of those in this movie.
And I gotta say this though, Jay, the beacons still make no sense. They don't make any sense.
They make no sense whatsoever.
They make no sense. They're literally on top of fucking mountains. They're in the freaking blizzard.
No, you can see the clouds underneath the mountain.
Yeah,
and they're lighting the beacon, and it's like, okay, who's gonna see that?
But it's not even that. It's the time. It's how quick these beacons are being lit one after another. It's like no way people saw that one climb up a freaking mountain and got to theirs on time.
But I'll tell you what I like about the movie.
Yeah,
is that they did it. Anyway.
Yeah, but then they did it, and you're like, yeah,
that's
I do
cool.
it too. But then awesome. Seeing Aragorn and him just like him running up those up there, and obviously like Theoden being like, "Tell me, where was Gondor when we needed them?" and completely switching his tune because he's like, "That's not who we are." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, also, I mean, like, I think that's why Two Towers, like, this movie makes Two Towers even better than it already is. Like, it necessitates the middle chapter because Theoden needed to experience, that battle at Helm's Deep,
near loss.
The near loss in order to arrive at with Gandalf coming in with the cavalry in order to
much more humble.
Right? Yeah, he humbled
leader.
himself, and you're like, we can't be like tribals, like these tribes anymore. We can't just be, unwilling to see and help one another. Like even if we're dying for this other cause, it's like we're all ultimately affected here. If one of us falls, we're all gonna fall, and so we all gotta get together. That again, this is why his character arc is just like so powerful. It is. I mean, he goes from being this possessed man who is just kind of closed himself off and everything to then being like a very stereotypical king who's like, our people first, we're strong, we can do this, very nationalistic. And then after everything at Helm's Deep, it's like, fuck, we got to regroup and rethink this. And then I love the I think correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like a scene when they're at the camp right before they make the decision to go help Gondor where he's telling everyone where it's just like, look, we're probably going to die, but at least we're going to die like fighting for what we believe in.
Because they don't have the numbers. Yeah.
They don't have the numbers. Yeah.
But
yes.
Exactly. And
that is one thing I love about this movie. It does feel hopeless.
Yeah.
Even having seen the movie before or knowing how movies like this end, there are times where you're like, oh my God, how are they going to pull this off?
Yeah.
And then, maybe it is a Deus Ex Ghost Army or Deus Ex Rohirrim. But either way, it does feel triumphant, and it does, send shivers up your spine when stuff like that happens.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Jay, I think the thing that when you just said that comes to mind is like when they have this massive victory and finally take back Minas Tirith and like kind of ward off, Mordor and stuff like that. It's like, oh fuck, now they actually have to go to Mordor and then fight them off again.
And there's more in there. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, and that's like probably my favorite stretch of the film is the Battle of Minas Tirith, and like everything from Faramir's almost sacrifice, not really sacrifice, to then the end of that battle. I think is just so exceptional. And then it's just like, well, shit, we still haven't done this, and we still got to figure out a way to beat the enemy. And to your point, it does feel so hopeless. And I think it hits even harder because you had that victory, and you're like, okay, well, we know what we can do. But it took this much just to gain this much ground, and it's it's so great. The way that he keeps you kind of like dancing on the razor's edge like that is, it's masterful.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Minas Tirith does not have a sewer grate at the front like Helm's Deep does.
No, but but it has a town that nobody can keep on lock. I can tell you that.
The river
The
town?
river town, man, they're just
that's
like
a disaster.
Yeah, that's
just
just
a nightmare.
Just let it go. You know what I mean? But no, I think to y'all's point as well, this movie, every time you feel that the chips are down, not only does something happen that reverses their fortune,
or there's something that makes it even worse. Like they're losing, and then all of a sudden, oh god, here come 5 dragons. What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
That shot when all the dragons are coming in at
it's incredible.
At Minas Tirith, and you're just like, oh, surely this is it. Oh no, there's more. Oh my god, there's more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but then also too, like that's when I think what's so great about it is like you can feel that sense of dread and everything, but yet we as an audience, we know that this won't last, but yet we're, like you're saying, Griff, we're on the edge of our seats trying to figure out, like, well, will they be able to? This is a lot of evil and darkness that's going on. But then, watching this as the movie's playing out, when Lord Elrond comes with the sword to Aragorn, that to me, that moment
that rocks.
That moment was just like, okay, it doesn't matter what happens, they're going to get this done, because if they, who had mostly lost faith within oneself, he lost faith in men a long time ago. If he restored that faith because of the man who would be king is the man that has the undying love of his daughter.
Yeah.
And she is passing, and this is her potential final wish.
Yeah.
When he tells him, like, essentially, like, I didn't have any hope for men, and he goes, I don't have any hope in myself still. Aragorn, after doing all this, it's so fucking sincere, but it's
amazing,
beautiful to understand that, like, these leaders are flawed, complicated individuals with things emotionally inside of them still, after all the badass things that we've seen them do. They are conflicted, and that conflict is what makes then the drama so much more compelling than any action set piece can ever do, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it is that decision that Arwen makes to be mortal, to like kind of put her immortality
she drops
aside.
that book.
When she drops the book, yeah.
I would fight to the ends of the earth for Arwen as well.
It's funny. Like, for the longest time, I think there was, well, maybe not for the longest time, but there was a period of time where I was like, man, I really feel bad for Eowyn. It's like she kind of got shafted, but it was like, well, she was wanting him to be something that
he's not.
He wasn't, and that she didn't need either. Which is why that deleted scene that I didn't even realize was a deleted scene between her and Faramir is so great, because they're both looking for love in the wrong places and people who are not going to give it to them. And then they kind of just like find each other, and they're like, oh, we have shared trauma, and I think we can bond over that. I almost wish there were like a couple more scenes between the two of them to kind of just give you a bit more just into that relationship, because at the end it's like they are together, but it's like
it's two good houses connecting right there at the end, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's gonna be good for the kingdom. I'm just gonna put that out there.
It's a good bloodline, yeah. But going back to Arwen, I mean, I think that him seeing what she is willing to do in sacrificing her immortality for something greater, I think kind of it causes him to really reflect on everything and be a little less numb, because now he has something to lose. It's like the elves never really, like, they were just kind of gonna, all right, well, I guess we can move on.
But he's one of their own.
Yeah,
in a lot of
exactly.
ways.
Yeah, right. That's his. I mean, it's his son.
I mean, when we see him in Fellowship, he, and Gandalf says they could do this if they had a king, and Elrond says he off that path many years. You know what I mean? And once, I think that whole love story, which is just splattered just enough in each of these 3 films, is so perfect because it adds so much still to Aragorn and his backstory and the future, and seeing that vision.
And the vision with the sun?
With the sun, that probably destroyed Jay.
Get out of here.
Come
on.
But the idea of Elrond saying, all I saw was death, and she goes, no, you saw life. And her fury of that stuff, of that her father wants her to live on forever, but that's not how some people's paths are.
The existence of an end does not,
does not define us.
The periods before it.
Exactly. And
man.
But then at the end of the film, when she walks to him and he's king, and the smile that Elrond has on his face of just of pure joy of not having to see the worst thing that in his visions come true. And it restores his faith enough to be able to move on. Yeah.
It's so good.
But then Jay, that's what's so great about it, because then when we see Elrond go to the Undying Land, he's allowed to do that because he knows that this world that he loves and the person that he loves the most is going to be okay. You know what I mean?
And I know. I mean, the movie should have ended before that, but
No,
Jay, that stuff is beautiful.
Is it time for us to get into this?
Yes.
The only thing I want to say is that I really to kind of put a point on this relationship with death thing. The thing that I love is how it is like it's how it's addressed between generations. You have the generations who have been in power, who are older, who are much more cynical, I guess, and like you said, just kind of see death and destruction around them and everything like that. And then you have these younger people who are like feeling invigorated, who are like, yeah, it can be bleak sometimes. It's like we do have something to fight for. Like we do have like lives that we need to protect. It's like just because you're at the end of your life does not mean that we're at the end of our lives. And so I think that, and then how that then kind of causes the old guard to kind of have a change of heart is so powerful. I mean, I mean that's just true of life in general. I think there is a lot of, I mean, that's how we get leaders like we currently have, unfortunately. But I don't know. I'm always moved by the cross-generational conversation regarding death in this film. It's
when he pulls that sword out though.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I was like,
badass.
Lay down a whole goddamn army. But yes, Jay, we're going to talk about these endings because you think this movie should end on what I will say, guys, is the number one scene. If you want to get Ryan McQuade to cry, you bow to no one. And I will.
If the movie ends there, it goes down as one of the greatest endings in the history of cinema.
Well, it is one of the greatest endings in the history of cinema.
And then there's 2 others.
Okay. So what don't you like about the other ones, Jay? Because I think
they're not that one. They just deflate that one. I mean, really and truly, that is all. It is a culmination. It is a fireworks show. Yeah. And then we get into an epilogue that is unnecessary and to me does not contribute enough to justify it coming after that.
I feel like it brings it down to earth a bit. It grounds it in what really matters, which is the hobbits, and then ultimately how they kind of move forward. I love how melancholy the ending is.
I love them in the Shire.
Yeah,
they return home. They're heroes to the rest of the world. They're heroes.
They're like vets returning from war, and they
but to everybody else, life has moved on.
Yeah,
they do. The hobbits are and have always been oblivious to the outside world. They live in their own specific world, and that's why they don't. Most of them, the only ones that have ever left are those 4 and Bilbo. They stay within their circle. They're in, they're
I mean, it rings.
they're indifferent to outside, right?
It rings to me as anticlimactic as the Hogwarts Express scene at the end of
Oh no,
Deathly
Jay.
Hallows Part 2.
No,
I mean,
see that
it really is just
that's-
like
Jay.
it is not as ineffective as that scene, but it is as unnecessary. In
No,
my
to be
opinion, as that
fair,
scene.
I think
You
you're
bow
absolutely
to
right.
no man is
It is, but
You Bow to No One is out of this world.
But I think
unbelievable,
but I think
cathartic, incredible.
but I think
It's untouchable.
I think the
And
stuff
then they
that,
bring it back down to something that is very touchable.
I think the stuff though on the boats to the Undying Land, I think that's so beautiful, and I think that this is.
And I'm happy for you.
I think that Elrond and the elves, those leaderships have seen all their people go, and we are now in the time of man. We're in the fourth time. Gandalf's mission is complete, and his love for these hobbits is over, and then the two last remnants of the ring are gone, and Frodo and Bilbo. That is why they are chosen to leave.
But that doesn't matter because the ring is already gone. So who cares?
That part of history
It should
is
be
gone.
about the victory of the destruction of the ring.
Jay, come on, you should like this. This should be all up your alley.
I know
man.
this does feel like something that cynical Dark Jay should really enjoy, but goddamn, when they say "you bow to no one," I levitate.
No, it's perfect, but
transcend, and then walk out the theater, and then immediately they're like, "Oh, there's 3 more scenes left."
But no, I just think that there's something
still
about
15 minutes left of this movie.
I think that there's something about that this world is now not theirs anymore, and they all did this for that specific purpose, and they all did this for things that are bigger than them, and now they go on to the after, and everybody else. It's a sacrifice. It's the burden that Frodo carried has met his conclusion, and there is no sense of real life beyond doing something as selfless as that anymore, and that everybody is going to move on. You see Pippin catch the bouquet, and you see Sam get married, and people are going to have kids, and people will rule, and legacies will carry on.
I mean, I get it. They're doing the Raiders of the Lost Ark thing where the Ark gets put in the storage room and will be basically buried to history. I understand it. It's overlong, it's deflating, and it just, to me, doesn't play. The Sam ending, I think, is even worse.
Oh, where he's like, I'm home, and then let's go inside my house.
I've got a family now and a kid. I'm just like, really? That's going to be the final.
No,
note
I
of
think
this movie is Sam
I'll agree with you on that.
going to get dinner,
yeah,
with his family.
Oh, is it pot roast tonight, honey? I agree with you there, Jay. I do think though of that. I do think that you're a little bit right when it comes to that. I do think that those melancholy moments in the Shire that Griffin mentioned, I think the Undying Land, I think that's all just very beautiful. It's this last real closing of the chapter of this world is to get rid for men to have a chance for this world to continue on to its next phase. The old has to leave. That's the purpose of this. Magic and elves and people connected to the ring are gone, and now it's a reset. And so I think that's, and there's obviously going to be memories, and there's going to be hard feelings because people are going to leave, and that hurts. But I think that there's something rather beautiful about knowing, at least Gandalf knowing, and these hobbits knowing that this isn't the end. And Merry and Pippin, or Pippin at least knows that there's something beautiful beyond in this world, and that they will see each other again. But in order for this world to be the world that they fought for, so that it could live another day, that what Aragorn and his reign is all about is for all that to go away, for this darkness, for the rule of the rings, the rule of the rings to end.
But you know what's a good part?
God damn it! You're gonna say it
When Aragorn says,
"You bow
my
to
friends,
no one."
you bow to no one."
Yes,
And then he
it's
gets on his
very
knees.
good. It's very, very good.
And then if it was over, then you would, like, explode into ash.
I still explode. I think it's
which honestly, maybe for the benefit of the audience not dying on the spot, maybe that's why they continued it after that. But I can't think of another reason that justifies it going beyond that.
No. Well,
yeah, I've never. Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know. I mean, watching it this time, I wasn't even really consciously thinking of like, oh my god, here's another ending, and then oh, here's another ending. So
yeah,
I feel
people
like
make it out to be like there's like this movie never fucking ends. Like it's the English Patient. You know what I mean? Like it's this like that. It's like gonna destroy cinema if this movie didn't end on everyone else's. And people have like Jay. You're probably more universally in the camp of people thinking that it should end there. Some people think it should end at the Undying Land. Some people think when they get back to the Shire, whatever. I personally, to me, just give me the whole thing. It's
not the Sam part.
Maybe not the Sam part. Yeah, I'll concede with you a little bit.
I do like the Sam part though, because I think it is not only saying like this. It's like showing what all of that was for, right? Like Sam gets his family. There's kids there. They're gonna go have their own adventure or something. And then it bookends it by, having it in the Hobbit hole. And so I think that's really, that's sweet. I mean, like it was if you're going back to like the, the war kind of analogy that this film is dealing in. I mean, he's someone who was able to adjust to civilian life, and he was able to have the family that he was constantly like dreaming of while he was out there on the front lines. And Frodo never had that. Frodo was very mission driven. And so I think one of the things that I really like about those latter two endings is seeing how Frodo can't adjust to civilian life. I mean, the war, if you will, completely changed who he was and what he sees. And I mean, like, I can't remember the lines, but he's kind of talking about the normalcy that you're coming back to, and it just being very odd. And I mean, you see in Elijah Wood's performance that this is a guy who is just not meant for a post-war world. Some people are really just built for that conflict, and you need those people. And I think Frodo kind of recognizes that he was one of those guys, which is why I think it's beautiful when he chooses to leave. And so you get the bittersweet ending of him choosing to leave because the life that he fought for was not really the life that he was meant for. But then you get to see what it was all for, like that it was worth it in Sam and that family. And then also by ending it on Sam, it really does make it clear that Sam is the hero of the entire film, which we all kind of talk about like in just sort of like, well, Sam's really the hero if you think about it. But it's like, no. The film firmly comes down on like, Sam
loves Frodo so much.
He loves Frodo. Like without Frodo,
carry the ring.
And who else?
And
who else better to finish his story than Sam? Because he says the last pages are for you, which you heartless monster. If you don't cry during that moment as well, it's
that's fine. It's not Viggo Mortensen getting on one knee and bowing to the hobbits.
And the entire bit of everybody in Gondor be like, who are these guys? No, I agree. I think it's beautiful. I think
it's great.
There's stuff there for sure, but it is just
would you have preferred it had the scenes been reordered so that you would get that ending that you wanted, so that you would have that final note?
I mean, just from a storytelling perspective, I guess that's sort of impossible.
I'd like to cut the scene where they're all in bed together. It's a little weird. All Asados. Not like we're all just like where Gimli comes in with like his eyes one looking one way, and they're like, hey.
Elijah was just like Gimli.
Like
all slow motion.
That's the one scene where I'm like, we don't need everybody in here laughing and
it is a
jumping in bed. It's
it's
so heavy handed. God, it's so.
I mean, there is definitely stuff at the end.
Yeah.
No. I mean, in the innings, right? I'm like, I understand
why they're doing it.
What this is doing for the characters.
Well, it's the fact that if we've gone on this sincere ride the entire time, a scene like this totally makes sense within a movie like that.
Yeah,
it feels very Return of the Jedi in a lot of ways too.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of Return of the Jedi in this movie.
Oh yeah, there really is
cross-cutting finale, which. Well, the Return of the Jedi I feel kind of the same about, where there's a 45-minute stretch in Return of the Jedi where I'm like, oh my god, this is
all the stuff where Vader and and
The
Luke are
cross-cutting finale.
Well, it's the three battles. It's the three
Yeah,
battles
yeah,
in
yeah.
Return
And
of
then
the
there's
Jedi.
other stuff in Return of the Jedi where I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Your rebel friends. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's that's really good.
It's
That's
some of the
good.
best cross-cutting in cinema history, and I think
incredible.
Peter Jackson does accomplish something similarly here. I mean, specifically the Faramir scene when he kind of rides out. That all of that is very like Lucas-like, and which is why I think it is so effective.
Yeah. Jay,
It's a good film.
can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
As a big topic of discussion, Griffin.
Oh, boy.
Jay does not understand or think that, particularly think that Legolas is that cool.
No, Legolas is not cool. He just
wanna
likes
know why?
he just likes skateboarding.
That's fair. So here's my theory. You want to know why everyone loves Legolas? Because of the video games. The Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and Return of the King.
Two Towers video game absolutely
video games
rips.
where it's so much fun, and then also like playing as Legolas is like fucking a blast, like because he's got the two swords, he's got a bow and arrow, he moves fast. It's like he's great. Like as a character in a video game,
no
that guy
arc
fucking rules.
in the movies. None.
He's a cool guy.
He is a cool guy.
He's a cool best
Really,
friend.
when you look back on it, who actually has an arc? It's Frodo, Sam, Aragorn,
Merry Pippin.
Gandalf, sort of. Pippin
has an
and
arc in
Merry.
this film. Yeah, and Merry.
Yeah, for sure.
all the hobbits have an arc.
Eowyn
So I would say-
definitely has an arc.
I would say
Faramir.
Gimli,
As far as the
Marwyn.
Fellowship, though, it's
I
not
think
Legolas.
Gimli and Legolas have a joint arc. Their
I
joint
think
arc is
they're
being
just
able
bros.
to see each. Well, they're bros, but they're able to get past their prejudices and biases in
Yeah.
order to see each other.
What
and
about
be
side by side
friends.
with a friend?
friend.
Yeah, dude,
I mean,
like,
that's
there
good.
you go.
It's good.
It's
good.
so good. It's
a little
so
mini.
good.
It's a baby.
But
arc.
that's the culmination of their arc. Like so, like it's small, but I think
What's-
like all their
Yeah, like what's
friendly-
Chewbacca's arc? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not saying Chewbacca has the greatest.
You know,
arc
I'm like
either.
saying,
Those arc.
like I'm not saying
I'm
these
just saying
guys. have to
Legolas
be-
is not. Legolas is, in my opinion, a minor character in Lord of the Rings.
He
for me.
kind of
sure. Yeah,
he
doesn't
is,
hit.
but he
Yeah,
rules.
he is.
Yeah, like when he's climbing up
He-
the
he
elephant
rules
and
adjacent.
he's killing the guys and that great moment.
He's got one move. It's skateboarding.
And Jay, I don't know if you liked it or not, but that still only counts as one. Is a great line.
I actually thought that worked better. In
The
this
counting in
movie.
here works better, probably. Yeah.
No. The counting is way better in Two Towers, man.
Oh, yeah.
That
Interesting.
whole
I thought
back
it worked
and
better
forth.
here.
Really?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the
Because it's built in.
Two
I
Towers.
think because it's built in, probably Jay, for you, that you're maybe expecting it, but
It's possible. In this one, I thought it was so. Again,
It was
like
minor.
so hopeless to me that it almost felt like them dissociating and just being like, "I have no other option but to count."
But you don't think
as a way of
Helm's Deep
coping.
has that same level of hopelessness? 'Cause
it
that's-
does.
yeah.
it does.
To
Jay.
me, I can't define why I find it slightly less effective on
yeah.
that level than in Return of the King. But
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
on a rewatch, I was kind of like, it's just kind of noisy and a little more repetitive. Whereas with Return of the King, I'm just like, boom, here's one moment that feels hopeless, and another thing that is very defined, as opposed to just like a horde of stuff happening.
Sure. Yeah.
This felt very kind of more specifically, like I thought the storytelling was more specific than in the Two Towers in the battle sequences.
So there are
Yeah,
two
that makes
things,
sense. Yeah.
two big things that, because in Jay, I'm going back to your previous thinkings on this franchise before you have now seen the light finally.
Which I still think is bad.
Which is that a lot of people, they start picking holes at the story and nitpicking things.
You could pick some
And-
nits.
And there are two big
I
ones.
still don't understand what the ring, like why do we care about this damn ring so much?
Well, that's
I mean,
why
it's crazy.
you're going to totally get corrupted by it. Do you need to rewatch the beginning of Fellowship in order to understand it again? Yeah, you need to figure
Well,
that out.
that is not. They don't really follow through on that over the course of the next.
But anyway,
10 hours of.
I think
of
the two
movies.
biggest things is the Ghost Army, and then in the final battle, the Eagles. Because that's the number one thing that people say all the
Yeah,
time. Well, why
those are
didn't
the
Gandalf
Deus
just get the
Ex-
fucking Eagles?
Yeah. Thanks.
and fly it over and just drop it in there. And it's like, well, those eagles would probably be dead. And then they would have the ring, and then bing, bang, boom. Like, he transforms back into Sauron, and then we're all dead. And then with the Ghost Army, that one I agree with you, Griff, and with Jay, and probably Jay too. Alan was always the one where I'm like, well, why don't you just get their asses all the way over to Mordor as well? Like, why wasn't that part of the deal? And like kill everybody there. But I guess also if you double cross them and don't give it up,
they're not going to help you.
They're going to kill everybody in Gondor that's left.
That I actually don't have a problem with.
No,
yeah,
Jay? Because people do have a problem with it. They think
I know
people
have an issue with it, but I'm with Jay because I think at least the reason I like it is because that's a very strong character moment for Aragorn.
Me too. No. I'm just saying people say that shit because they want to.
From like a logic perspective.
They're stupid.
The cinema sins.
Like the cinema sins of
it's the old Jay Ledbetters out there, not the new Jay Ledbetters.
Yeah. That was totally me before. I loved.
You were a cinema sins guy.
Picking hole, absolutely not.
Oh, absolutely. You were Mr. Like, oh, those movies are dumb. You know what I mean? Like,
some movies are dumb.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but these movies aren't dumb. These movies
This movie absolutely overcomes those.
Any of that stuff. Yeah. Because it grounds it again all in character and emotionality and great moments and action set pieces and if the movie is so bad that all you have to latch onto are or is like plot holes, then it's bad. But if the movie overcomes those things, it's like, well, who the fuck cares? It's a good movie. What did you feel watching it?
And that is barely a plot hole. That's like
yeah, I know.
Well, yeah. For the record, I don't think either of these are.
No. I don't think so. I'm just bringing them up because I know people will be like, you
know what I say to those people?
Nerds.
Get a life, nerd. Get a life, shove you in a locker.
Jay says that with a backward hat on for this episode.
Very frat.
In a polo, he's looking super.
I am. I've got pink polo right backwards.
Where's your puka shells?
Hello.
Yeah,
I left them. They're upstairs.
They're in your locker.
I've got a 24 pack of Natural Light and a puka shell necklace upstairs.
I think the biggest thing I wanted to ask you guys is because we all love this movie. Jay putting it in a 5-star on Letterboxd. Wow,
I haven't logged it. I'm sorry.
Good for you, buddy. You should put Two Towers there as well. You should have all.
I gave it a 4.5.
I think you'll move it up in time. I think the number one thing I want to ask you guys, as we start wrapping this thing up, this movie is one of the last times everything in culture collided all at once and we unified.
You're saying this is the end of the monoculture.
I really think that this is to me
Avengers.
Well, no, Jay. No, not even Avengers. I'm talking about critically, commercially. The Oscars celebrated this darn thing. We'll get into that.
That's different.
Everybody, it was the movie, undeniable. Nothing else mattered. This was it. And this is what we rarely see anymore. Oppenheimer probably is the closest thing that we've had since of having.
If you throw the Oscars in there, yes, but as far as monoculture is concerned, it was.
You're talking about Hollywood, dominating Hollywood, and then expand that out into the culture, expand that into the worldwide, being that impactful.
Avengers.
I mean, you could also maybe to a lesser extent, Avatar.
Maybe so. But you're naming
the first Avatar, certainly.
You're naming two movies, and it used to.
This is rare. I mean,
it's
Harry
very
Potter
rare
came out for this too. That was huge.
Yeah.
Well, Harry Potter came out the same year as the first one, so.
Well, I know, but the
the bigger films,
Deathly Hallows.
Yeah.
Well, the books were probably. Would you say the books were probably more popular than the films?
No,
because people don't read as much as they watch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not to say that the books did not have a massive level of popularity.
Yeah.
But like,
I would say more people have read the Harry Potter books though than the Lord of the Rings. To be fair.
Well, yeah, that's just because the Lord of the Rings books are older. Then I don't think.
Well, there's 3 of them, and I think people have read 7 kids' books.
If that's what
you know what I mean.
There's some metrics you could
Yeah. But anyway,
Harry Potter, very
I just
popular.
think that in terms of overall a blockbuster being
Remember in The Devil Wears Prada, there's a plot element where she has to get the transcript for the new Harry Potter book.
for the 7th Harry Potter book. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's good stuff. And she gets it on the train and what am I going to do with this copy? Have them share it.
Yeah.
It's so good. Anyway, no, I'm just saying, and I'm sort of opening a bit larger, is that this feels like a unicorn. And I
Nowadays, yeah.
And nowadays, but at the time we used to have big movies like this. And Jay, the movies at the Oscars and the movies that were celebrated, they used to make money. They used to be celebrated. People used to see them. This was the biggest thing of, I think, our generation. And we've never had anyone try to, I mean, there's probably been dozens of replicants or, trying to do this, but it's just never, it's so rare that it hits every single
All right,
point.
Rick Deckard, replicants.
I know, I caught that too. I was like,
But I just think that this is such a rare thing, and this one in particular is so strange because it is a particular genre that doesn't, this is deep, fantasy, sci-fi sort of stuff being consumed by the masses, and it takes a filmmaker to do this, and that can make it accessible for everyone, as well as also talk about all the things that we talk about tonight and make it uniform for everybody. But I don't know, there's just this movie to me, the old cliche or the cliche that we keep saying is they don't make movies like this anymore. And this feels like by the end of this, you're like, well, yeah, they don't make movies like this anymore. And it's hard to replicate it because it was so huge. It's very rare that the number one movie at the box office, one of the best critically acclaimed films, wins all these awards, hits the culture for 20, 30 years, and it was a gamble and everything. Like,
There have
this
been
is
great,
a massive
hugely
achievement.
successful films since this movie came out.
But
They've
none
been
of them are
nominated
as
Best
impactful as
Picture.
this.
I mean,
None of them-
Your
maybe,
claim
like,
is
to the
that in the last
Prestige.
20, this is the most impactful movie of the 21st century.
The most impactful
Yeah.
blockbuster of the outside of the Dark Knight, potentially, I would say that this is the most impactful blockbuster of the last 20, 25 years. Maybe throw in The Matrix.
I mean, I can see an argument. I don't know if
I'm just saying yes, they just re-released the Star Wars movie, made 20 million, but every time
Coda?
these movies, what?
Coda?
Coda? No, that's not a blockbuster, buddy.
Oh,
It's not a blockbuster. Sorry. Maybe Gandalf can show up in Coda 2 or something like that. But
Yeah.
no, I just think that it's so fascinating that these movies hit, and they had a level of importance behind them, right? Like they were events.
I
don't
think
sell anymore.
I
Maybe
think
Dune
the
is that now for a generation, and that's what a lot of people are trying to
so.
turn that for Dune. You know what I mean? And but
I mean, we'll see. It's tough.
it's tough to stick that landing, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with,
Especially when your second movie is not very good.
Well,
You know?
that's you're alone there. No, but I think it is just kind of like
I'm just saying why we don't get more of these movies, because we should.
What I was gonna say is like I sort of what I was texting you earlier is that the aughts, I think in hindsight now, was a very special time for tentpole films like this that kind of harken back to the 80s, and then before that harken back to like the epics of like the 50s or even a little bit in the 60s.
Parts of the Caribbean.
Well, yeah, I was literally going to say the Pirates trilogy, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, the Nolan Batman trilogy, which kind of goes a little bit into the 2010s, but it's very early, so you still count it as the aughts. I mean, Lord of the Rings, those early Harry Potter films. I mean, it was just like, it was that perfect era where you had filmmakers that were used to doing things the analog way that then would come in. And sort of what I was saying at the top of this, they would do what Peter Jackson did, which was they would come in and use these tools, use visual effects to build massive worlds, and just kind of like take those analog techniques and like bring them to these levels that you couldn't even imagine. And so we got like such fantastical stories. And I think because technology has just gotten to a place where like, you know, you or I could go out and shoot a movie that like with visual effects that like looks really good if we had the proper, you know, skills to do so. It kind of, you lose a little bit of that magic because you don't have those visionaries in there that are the kind of that don't take the technology for granted. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that the evolution of that has caused us to stop dreaming a little bit, and we've lost a little bit of imagination. I mean, you get it every now and then, but it is just kind of drowned out in just like assembly line products. And yeah, and I mean, and then on top of that, like sincerity is kind of hard to find in blockbusters these days. And I guess it's just because like things are kind of bleak. But even like before this current era, it was becoming it was just becoming not very commonplace. So I don't know. Like there is, I mean, maybe it's because like that was the era that we grew up in, and so we look on it like a bit more fondly.
Yeah,
but
I think that's definitely part of it.
It's part of it, but like there is something really, really special about that. Like there were just, it was this perfect combination of just like imagination and technology.
Yes.
But like mixed with like filmmakers who just, I don't know, they weren't. I don't know. They just knew how to use everything in the perfect blend, and I don't know. I'm probably rambling on, but that was. I think that's why it feels like we don't have. I mean, that's why something like Sinners is so refreshing, because that is like of a similar.
It's just auteur cinema being done at the highest level.
It is that much, and also I think there's kind of two sides to it. One, the technology wasn't all the way there to do this entirely digitally.
Yeah.
And so you do have this blend. And then also the technology was new enough that it blew everybody's mind. We were still able to be surprised by this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of this perfect inflection point for the culmination of the sort of transportive power of cinema to kind of take over at this particular point. And when it is done this sincerely and this effectively, and with storytelling this effective, you get something like this, and it transcends.
Yeah, well, and they were primarily shooting on film still too, and like I know people can make digital look really good. Like, I mean, Revenge of the Sith, I think, is a very good looking digital movie. But I don't know, maybe it's like the
there's just something about it.
It's tactile. It really is. It's like there's a richness to it that you cannot reproduce.
There's something about
digital.
There's something about shooting on film too that you then have to almost in a lot of ways force yourself to then work a lot within practicality.
100%.
And you can't go full fledged into the digital realm nearly as much as you look at Marvel movies; those look like gobbledygook. Why is that? Because they're all shot on nobody wants to shoot on location. No one wants to shoot in these places. It's
my permanent argument is that digital is capable of looking just as good as film, but like base digital looks so much worse than film. You look at Roger Deakins is converted to digital. Whose movies still look absolutely incredible? Roger Deakins.
But I think,
because he knows how to light for film. He knows how to compose.
He understands that they're different mediums.
Exactly.
But also but he also doesn't make like CGI spectacles. You know what I mean?
Right. He made Blade Runner 2049, my friend.
Yeah, but there's a lot.
That had enough practical.
That has a lot of practical in it, buddy. That's not.
That has a lot of effects in it too.
Yeah, it does. Like but it's a perfect blend of that.
Yeah, it does sort of have the spirit of a Return of the King in it.
Exactly.
To your point. Yeah.
No, very much so. And that's again another film that's very rare, as opposed to a lot of these. I was listening to.
So it just comes down to directors who are interested in doing it and studios that are willing to.
I just don't think
a little bit of extra money for it.
I just don't think studios are willing to do with it. I mean, like
they don't have patience. They don't have patience to allow for a trilogy like this to exist.
Yeah,
and if they do, it's with someone like a Christopher Nolan or like a Ryan Coogler. It's only reserved for like the very top.
Well, even
of the
still, I
line.
mean, like Villeneuve, he did Dune, and that was on a hope and a prayer that he could get the second one made. You know what I mean?
It is so
Right.
crazy when you see the like shoot times of movies now, and it's like, you know what probably had the same shoot time as Dune 2? Like Pauly Shore's Jury Duty probably had a similar production timeline. Like
Well, no, well, no, like
it's insane.
what was so crazy was like I was
yeah.
just reading that like Nolan wrapped 2 weeks early in Italy already on the Odyssey, and I'm like,
The Frighteners took like a
2 weeks early. How the fuck is he making this epic like so quick? It's crazy.
Yeah, it is
so.
insane.
But that's the thing is he's very efficient
Mm-hmm.
because he knows his vision going in, and used to be people do the runaround or whatever when they're trying to make stuff like this. And I think also a lot of studios tried in the subsequent years to try to replicate this. It didn't necessarily work out. Learn the hard way, find digital, and they got rid of a lot of the resources to make things on film. Like Griffin, you were talking about, like we should have more IMAX screens available in the country to see. Like we should see Lord of the Rings on the IMAX. You know what I mean? Like they should be able to blow it up. They should be able to we should be able to see Sinners more. We should be able to see, we should be able to have like flexibility within these films to see these movies in these giant platforms. We're just not able to do it because for whatever reason, space, as well as also we're just not able to have people that are willing to sit there and learn how to be projectionists anymore, which is kind of wild too. You know what I mean? Like that used to be an art form. That used to be like people's jobs, and now that doesn't exist. Like I don't, like Tarantino can do that for like his 2 theaters in Los Angeles, but the rest of the country, like when Oppenheimer happened last year or 2 years ago, I guess.
A lot of
people were like,
fucked.
"How the fuck do we do this?" Like they needed,
they had to fly people in. They had to fly like projectionists in. Yeah, well,
and they were screwing up left and right because they don't have the technology happening anymore. And people were super pissed. They're like, I'm not seeing this movie this way. And it's like, well, I'm sorry.
People using a phonograph.
Exactly.
I was just looking at like movies. I was like, how long did, old stupid comedies actually take? I ended up on the Wikipedia page for Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
How long did that take? 4 months?
And now I'm on the production section of that, and it's like part of the film was shot in British Columbia, Canada. The film was shot in Super 35, and I'm like, oh my God. They used to that's people used to shoot
movie,
stuff on film and project it on film all the time.
Yeah,
and now you see a movie projected on film, and you're like, oh my God.
I think
that's what people saw Christmas Vacation on.
I know it is fucking insane. Yeah.
No, I think actually, Jay, to your point, I think the when we do get studio comedies, they actually look the worst. They don't get because there's something in that digital look.
Well, that's why none of those make any money in theaters anymore.
Yeah. That's why they're all on streaming platforms.
I mean, that's a whole other topic. I mean, like the comedy as a film genre has just been so devalued, and it's just like, oh, it's just a streaming thing now.
Well, I mean, this franchise that we're talking about today has been thrown on a streaming platform and devalued. That prequel series is ugly as fuck, and it costs $300 million to make.
Hobbit.
No, not The Hobbit. I'm talking about the Lord of the Rings television series.
Oh,
it's on there.
Ring of Power.
Yeah, the Ring of Power, and that thing is like $300 million a season, and
People
it looks.
love it.
No one talks about that fucking thing.
Dude, I can't walk down the street without somebody telling.
Is that at the water cooler at work?
Yeah.
Anything else?
By the way, I work on the set of Ring of Power.
Exactly. There you go. Anything else you guys want to mention about Return of the King before we start moving out of this episode? Anything?
I feel like we've about covered it.
All right.
We touched.
We get a little Galadriel, which
we do.
Enjoyed.
Yeah,
it was like
that's true.
She saves him.
Yeah,
she does.
She gives him a little bit of. She gives him a little Gandalf bump.
Just a beautiful person.
Is that your most important person?
She's really working her way up there.
But it's not Rebecca Ferguson.
She's not Rebecca Ferguson, which is unfortunate for her.
Griffin, do you have like a number one important person? When we talk about important person, your number one crush, which we call on the show important person.
Out of respect.
Out of respect.
Yeah. That's all right. Your girlfriend, she's not listening to the door.
Yeah, I gotta think about that for a second. That's really tough.
She does listen to the show though.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, right.
She's got my phone number. She's gonna like be like, what was Griffin's answer? No.
Maybe let me think about that for a second. I know I have.
We're gonna get it by the end of this episode.
I know. Yeah.
You're not leaving without us knowing
Right.
who your most important person is right now, outside of your girlfriend Danielle.
Good film, Return of the King.
Very good
film.
movie.
Yeah. I do like your Kate Blanchett pick. That's not gonna be mine, but I think that's a respectable one.
Jay?
Black Bag.
Jay?
Black Bag, baby. Ooh.
Jay,
Yeah.
how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm so glad I watched these movies.
Good. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've watched, I did the math. Yeah. 21 hours, 22 hours. I think I've watched of Lord of the Rings.
I think that makes up for the 15 years of you not watching. Movies.
I'm done for a while, I will say.
But you will come back.
Absolutely.
You guys show the kid down the road.
But I'm theatrical Fellowship, extended Two Towers, theatrical Return of the King.
That's what you're going to do.
That's my take.
That's your take. That's what you're going to do going forward?
Those are my versions of the movies, yes.
Okay. All right. Before we get out of here, we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. In a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated. Now, Griffin, this is where we test Jay's award season knowledge because he's our awards expert. That's where the sarcasm button once again hits in. Jay, you know the answer to this. Lord of the Rings was nominated for Academy Awards.
It was nominated for a lot. I think like tied a record, right?
It was up there. What? It was not nominated for a record. The record was is higher than that. I think it
was close.
I think 14 is the record. 13, 14 is the record. What did it get nominated for? What did it win?
All right. It won Best Picture. It won Best Director.
That is correct.
I don't think it got any acting nominations.
That is correct.
If I just do everything below the line, sound editing, sound mixing, costume design, production design, cinematography, score.
Whoa. Do that again.
Sound, both of them.
No.
It didn't get both. It got one.
Mm-hmm.
It got editing. It got mixing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, they should have edited the sound better.
Yeah, they should have done it a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought it was well mixed. I wasn't sure about the editing.
What else, buddy?
Costumes, stooms.
They got the stooms. Yep.
Production design.
Yep. We got art direction.
Score.
Yes, Howard Shore got a second Oscar in 3 years.
Cinematography.
It did not get cinematography.
Did not get cinematography. Editing for sure.
Was not nominated for cinematography, by the way.
That's silly.
It did win cinematography. Editing. Yes.
See, this is where I just forget what the categories are. Screenplay.
Yes, adapted screenplay. It won.
Okay.
Two more.
I got two more nominations. There was no original
Actually,
song.
three more. I'm sorry.
See, I know I'm forgetting like easy stuff.
Wait, there was no what?
No original song?
Was there?
There was an original song for this movie?
Yes, there was.
Who's it by?
The song at the end credits for Annie Lennox won
Come on.
for Into the West. Did you not listen to the credits?
Come on.
Then you got homework to go listen to.
See, original song may be the most broken category at the Oscars.
Well, this was at the time where they could do it in the credits, and then now that, and then they got rid of that, and people got really mad because people like Springsteen had that song for The Wrestler in the credits, or like it just started at the end right before it goes into the credits, and that won like every award, and then it didn't win the Oscar. And so then they changed it back. But now like they pretty much award songs now that are in the movies, or a Bond song at least.
Yeah, but the movies that like nobody cares about.
Well,
Anyway,
nobody cares about.
Did I say visual effects?
Nobody cares about Barbie that won 2 years ago.
No, I mean that was cool, and it was in the movie.
I mean, your favorite movie won it last year with Amelia Perez.
The movie.
Well, Amelia Perez was.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, sure, that should count.
Yeah. Okay. And well, it did.
And we love it.
There you go. You have two more.
Visual effects.
That is correct. And last one.
Did I say makeup?
You did now. Makeup. There you go.
There we go.
As Steven Spielberg would say.
All of them, I was going to get there.
As Steven Spielberg would say, it was a clean sweep. It won 11 out of 11.
It won all of those?
Yes.
That's wild.
It was a bona fide sweep.
Is that the record for most wins?
No.
What is the record for most wins?
Ben-Hur, Titanic. They have the most, 13, I believe.
They had some actors in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. They had like all the crafts.
Oh, Titanic didn't have actors.
No, they had actors nominated. They didn't have like wins.
Yeah. They didn't sweep.
They did not sweep.
They never lost. It's kind of like how Michael Jordan, people are like, well, he never lost the finals. But it's like, yeah, LeBron went to like 5 more finals than Jordan did.
Yeah, but Jordan's the GOAT.
Do you ding him for making more finals?
Yeah.
This is the great debate.
Because he didn't win.
This is the great debate.
You got to win.
Would Michael Jordan have been a worse player if he made 1 more finals and lost?
Well, I mean, that's the Tim Duncan argument, right? Because Tim Duncan went to 5 out of 6, but he lost because of Ray Allen's shot.
Yeah, now he's trash.
Exactly. There you go. He is. Titanic was nominated for 14 categories. But actually, you are right, Jay. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to.
Yeah, I mean, of course I was.
I get it wrong. It tied the record for most wins. Ben-Hur, Titanic, and Lord of the Rings have 11 wins.
Man, big old honkin' epics.
But those are the 3 that have the most wins by a film ever. The most nominations by any film ever was Titanic, All About Eve, and La La Land. They They have 14.
You know what's a good movie?
What?
Titanic.
It's okay.
It's a great movie.
It's fine.
You know, it's not a very good movie. Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur. Oh, you don't like Ben-Hur?
Oh,
wow. That's a movie though. It's a fine movie, but the chariot scenes are very good. So
no. It's due a rewatch for me. I haven't watched that one in a long time.
Wyler, right? William Wyler? Yeah, director?
I actually don't know.
Yes, William Wyler. Might be a series down the road. Never know, Jay. Be pretty good.
Holiday, yeah.
Jay, this, of course, the year of Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. We talked about this year last year when we talked about Lost in Translation during the Sofia Coppola movie series. This is also, that was nominated for Best Picture with Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, alongside Mystic River from Clint, Seabiscuit, and a personal favorite of mine, Jay, Master and Commander of the Far Side of the World. Which is, what a frickin' banger. That movie, I need that movie on 4K. That's what I need.
I got one question for you.
Yeah, buddy.
Is that my daughter in there?
Is that
my daughter in there?
Oh, God. Yeah, Sean Penn going crazy in that movie.
I think I think Aston is the only acting nom I would give.
So, Best Supporting Actor, Tim Robbins won for Mystic River. Alec Baldwin for The Cooler. It's the guy that you hang out with on the weekends, Jay. Alec Baldwin.
That's my guy. I'm in the next episode of whatever that show he's on is now. The Baldwins? Is that what it's
Baldwins,
called?
Yes.
Isn't this the Johnny Depp year? Wasn't he nominated?
Yeah, he was nominated in lead
For
actor
Pirates.
for Pirates. This is supporting actor, Jaimin Hansu in America, Kim Watanabe for The Last Samurai, and Benicio del Toro for 21 Grams. Actually,
not a particularly standout list.
A lot of like good performances, but not like
not very good
great
movies.
films. Yeah.
You don't like The Last Samurai?
Last Samurai is fun.
It's fine. Watanabe is very good in it.
Yeah. I was gonna say he stands out. In that,
Again,
in that crowd.
all these are actually pretty good performances in movies that are just like okay. Like Mystic River is a movie that I really like until like the last 5-ish minutes when like Laura Linney is like on the bed on top of Sean Penn explaining the entire point of what it means to be a gangster.
And then they
why
go
he's
back to the
powerful.
Shire, and it's like
Yeah, and then they go back to the
married,
Shire, and
oh
it's
my god, I don't need to see
like,
you putting dinner on the table in the
exactly,
Shire.
very much so. Yeah, and it's like, oh my god, you don't need to close the door to the Hobbit hole in Boston. Anyway, Jay, do you want to know what won cinematography?
I would love to.
That was Master and Commander of the Far Side of the World.
I mean, fair. You know what? Fine.
The other nominees were City of God, Cold Mountain, Girl with a Pearl Earring,
Yeah, that was the thing.
and Seabiscuit.
Who
God
can forget
bless Seabiscuit.
the
Have you guys
visuals
seen
of Seabiscuit?
Seabiscuit?
I have. It is.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
don't remember
It-
much of it.
You don't remember? Well, he was a horse, and his name was.
I am familiar with the
Seabiscuit.
character Seabiscuit.
Character. He was a real horse. This isn't like they made a freaking.
No, if you're a human, you're a person. If you're a non-human, you're a character.
Who do you think would win in a
Even
race?
If you were real.
Shadowfax or Seabiscuit?
Seabiscuit, easy.
Seabiscuit's not losing any race.
Really? Even Shadowfax? He knows the meaning of haste. Gandalf's riding him.
Seabiscuit.
I think Gandalf
This
can
is
get him.
Seabiscuit we're talking about.
I'm not-
This
I'm
isn't
not-
Any, this isn't
Gandalf's-
any ordinary horse.
Gandalf's too big to be a jockey as well.
Gandalf.
Since he's the only one that can ride.
For the love of
It's
God,
over.
Gandalf, get a saddle on your goddamn horse. My God, my bro.
He's barebacking.
He's barebacking the whole time. It's gotta hurt. Sound editing that it didn't get nominated for either, which is just beyond stupid. Master and Commander of the Far Side of the World won that, Jay. Finding Nemo
Fine.
and
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. Only 3 films. Were
Only
nominated.
3.
Yeah, only 3.
I mean, look,
Just
as
silly-
I
that's
said,
just
as I
silly.
said
Pirates
before,
love. Pirates love. I'm good.
Pirates love, yeah, big time.
like, was the sound for this movie edited that well? You know, I understand it was mixed well, but edited.
Would
Who's
you
to
guys?
say?
Would you guys? Okay, so you guys would. Jay, you said you would nominate Aston.
I would
right?
nominate Aston. Yeah.
Griff.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Can you read them?
Would
off
you
again?
like? Would you? Oh, okay. Tim Robbins, Mystic River. Alec Baldwin, The Cooler. Benicio del Toro, 21 Grams. Diamond Hansu for In
Oh, this is
America.
for supporting.
Yeah, supporting actor. Yeah. Would you? Who would you put in there? Take out.
I don't.
I mean, I'd probably take out like Baldwin for The Cooler. He's just like it's a pretty like standard.
Yeah, I mean
Baldwin
that
performance.
feels like
Or del Toro
yeah.
for 21 Grams.
That's the guy in the bald ones.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the guy. It's
yeah,
the,
probably take
the lead
him.
of Rust. You know what I mean? So
Oh God.
I actually think there's an argument to be made that Vigo should have been nominated
for
as
best
well.
actor,
Yeah, probably.
He's the
Sean
king.
Sean Penn, Mystic River,
He's the
Johnny
king.
Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, Ben Kingsley, House of Sand and Fog, Jude
Yeah,
Law,
that's the one I
Cold,
take out.
Jude Law, Cold Mountain. That's who I take out. And
Over House of Sand and Fog, really?
I do like Kingsley. Well, I'd take them both out probably, but I would keep
Yeah.
Kingsley. If I'm only going to get rid of one, I'm going to get rid of Jude Law. He's not very good in that movie. That movie sucks.
I haven't seen that one. That's about a house of sand and fog.
Yes, sir. You know, Jay, you know who's in that movie?
Interesting.
Jennifer Connelly.
All right. Now you got my attention.
Oh yeah. That's
And Bill Murray for Lost in Translation, who's incredible. in that
He's great.
movie. Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately, people don't like him, so he didn't win.
Yeah, I feel like nobody in this lineup, people of the 3 people that were going to win, Sean Penn, Johnny Depp, and Bill Murray. Nobody likes those people.
I don't know. I feel like people liked Johnny Depp back then.
Back then, probably.
yeah,
Yeah,
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not now. People
Now
like
they love him.
people hated Penn, and yet he won 2 Oscars in like a 5-year span
Yeah. Yeah. People don't like Penn very much.
because he was like the great actor of the era.
Yeah. He was like
Right?
asking if that was his daughter in there.
Yeah, he was Harvard. He was milking it up. You know what I mean? So
Oof.
yeah, I probably Vigo's. I don't know if I put Vigo in there. We did also talk about this year, last year too, Jay. We talked about it twice because Diane Keaton was nominated for Something's Got to Give, a movie that I absolutely love. Nancy Meyers film.
Put Jack in there.
Oh yeah, I would put Jack in there. Jack's really good. Yeah, Jack would probably be a replacement. He's very good. Would you guys still give Lord of the Rings the Best Picture this year? Or Jay, would you replace?
Of the nominees, yes, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to want to give it to Lost in Translation, but I would give it to Return of the King.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I give it to Return of the King as well.
You wouldn't give it to Lost in Translation?
I'm looking at. Let me look at. This came out in 2003.
Yes, sir. What was your favorite film in 2003?
Let me see what my favorite movie.
Griff, is this your favorite film of 2003?
No, Fellowship's my favorite.
No, I was talking about of well, not.
Oh, sorry, of 2003. I thought you meant of the three.
Of the three. Oh.
No, Pirates of the Caribbean is probably my favorite.
Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
I would probably say Kill Bill.
Volume 1.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd keep it with Lord of the Rings, but for the Return of the King. But we all know Jay knows what my favorite movie of 2003 is.
Finding Nemo.
It's Something's Got to Give. Wonderful film.
That is your favorite movie of the year?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Wild.
Yeah, it's a wonderful film.
It's a great film.
We talked about it on this show.
I didn't realize that was your. I mean, you very well probably said it.
I did say that, and you did the exact same thing.
We record one of these every week.
Yeah. Once again, Jay doesn't listen to me. Griff, how would you? So you would rank it? How the Lord of the Rings?
Oh, the trilogy.
Yeah.
For me, it goes in release order. So Fellowship, Two Towers, and then Return of the King.
And the only way you watch them is extended edition, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Jay, I'm not going to get your rankings just yet because we do rankings at the end of the series.
Yeah, for all of P-Jack.
Exactly. So
P-Jack.
It might not be your Lord of the Ring might not be.
So these three fall right below
The Hobbit.
Meet the Feebles.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. This has been a great episode. We've had a lot of fun.
Great up. New guest.
New guest.
What's better?
Griff hanging out with us.
Hey.
Griff,
That's awesome.
can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet? And can you give our audience a recommendation of the week? It doesn't have to be a movie. It doesn't have to be something recent. It can be anything you want that you recommend people check out right now. I know it's a big responsibility, but we're giving it to you. And also you have to tell everybody who your most important person is as well.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I settled on Leia Sadu.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, Griff. Good taste. Good
This
taste.
is a man
buddy.
of class.
Yeah. He put his pinky up when he said that name. Ooh. All right.
Yeah, no. Thank you guys for this has been a lot of fun. It's not very often that I get to go on podcasts and just ramble and dive into stuff like this. So it was a lot of fun. And
we're gonna have to have you on again.
Yeah, please. Let me. I'm happy to do it. Yeah, but if you guys like me and anything that I have to say, you can follow me on Twitter at Griff Schiller, which is also my Instagram and Threads and whatever the fuck other platforms are out there. It's just at Griff Schiller. And then you can check out the videos that I do, the film analysis video essays over on FilmSpeak. That's where I post most of my content. And then also I do interviews and other work for AwardsWatch as well. So if you're interested in any of that, you can check that out. I've got an interview with Trey Edward Schultz coming up for Hurry Up Tomorrow in a couple of weeks. So that'll be pretty good. It was a good conversation. And then I just dropped a video on Sinners over on the FilmSpeak channel, which I'm very proud of. So that'll be another one that you can go check out. And actually, not to plug too many things, but we're working on a Revenge of the Sith video that I think we're going to aim for either the 4th or 5th of May. As a release.
It'll be out by then. Yeah. All right.
So so that's all I got. Oh, and then the recommendation. Recommendation. You guys are killing me.
We ask the tough questions.
Leia Sedu's Instagram.
Does that exist?
Jay,
that's a good question.
Jesus. It's a family show around here.
Holy cow. I mean, like, honestly, like, I feel like I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about the rehearsal like at all right now. Like, I feel like it's getting overshadowed by fucking The Last of Us, and the rehearsal is the superior HBO show that's on right now. Like, it's so fucking good.
It's incredible.
Like, last week's episode, my jaw was genuinely on the floor. It is just go watch go watch The Rehearsal. It's brilliant.
Jay and I have shared our love for Nathan Fielder.
I'm a Fielder. I've been a Fielder stan for
he is a
10 plus years. He's
he's a deranged genius. And,
he's amazing. Yeah.
I showed my wife the second episode of the second season of The Rehearsal.
I have not seen any of the new season yet.
I showed her that, and she loved it, as well as she also said, "Please turn this off. This is the most anxiety I think."
Oh, it's excruciating. Yeah, it
is excruciating to watch. But for me, I couldn't help but turn away. It is the funniest shit on the planet, and it's really a like a snake eating its own tail sort of thing going on this season that I absolutely love. So,
well, also, I mean, even the last season, you're kind of like, is this unethical what he is doing right now? Like, is he?
I think that about everything he does. Period. In the story, and also to know that, like, I think The Curse, like a Q&A, like Nolan loved The Curse and did like a Q&A with Safdie, and
Nolan loved The Curse.
Yeah, he was like
he was a big
fan
Safdie's guy too.
Yeah, exactly. Benny. So he loves Benny, so like that was really cool to see. But like, Fielder is he's a
maniac.
He's a maniac.
He is.
He's a monotone maniac.
Exactly. Jay, same drill.
Letterboxd J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Any writing I'm doing, AwardsWatch. Recommendation of the week. Been trying to catch up on some 2025 stuff. Got around to One of Them Days. Good film. Had a great time with it.
Is that the one with SZA and Keke Palmer?
SZA, Keke Palmer. I think that's a movie that you can recommend to pretty much anybody. There are some moments that are kind of like a little too over the top, kind of broad. Didn't love it, but Keke Palmer's a freaking movie star, and SZA was kind of a revelation. I mean, really? It is. I think that pair is some top tier buddy comedy type stuff, and that movie it's just like a day in the life sort of slice of life, down on their luck movie. One crazy day. Really is what it is. I think is really, really fun. I had a great time with it. So check that out.
I gotta check it out. It's on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
It is on Netflix.
Yeah, you can stream it there. Right. Well, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work here at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, we have the main show that's released on Mondays. iTunes, Spotify, 5-star reviews. We greatly appreciate it. While you're over the website, please sign up for the newsletter. It's all the best way to get all of our news, reviews, interviews. The time of this recording being dropped will be post cans. All the reviews and stuff from there will be up. For myself, I'm going to recommend a movie that came out a couple years ago, but it's in good prep for a movie that will be coming out later this summer. We're going to have a new Wes Anderson movie coming out this year, The Phoenician Scheme, and I think that Wes Anderson delivered a really damn good movie 2 years ago in Asteroid City, and I rewatched it, and I think it's one of his best. I think it's top tier Wes Anderson. Anybody that tells you otherwise is kind of a moron. There was a lot of people when it came out initially out of Cannes that were like, because it wasn't Grand Budapest Hotel again, it wasn't this or that. I think it's actually a pretty beautiful film. It kind of has the emotional sentimentalities of like that harkens back to when Anderson made Royal Tenenbaums, which is my favorite of his films. Jay, I believe that's your favorite of Wes Anderson's films as well. There's sort of this quality.
It's a lot. I don't know. His later style is a lot more kind of dollhousey, but
but this stuff, like, I don't know, there's something about him making it post-quarantine, post-COVID, and his thoughts on that, and isolation, and art, and the written word, and there's just something about the meaning of having to find meaning within something when there might not be anything there. It's a very, very interesting commentary from Anderson.
A lot to break down in that.
A lot of breakdown from that film, and I think it's just, once again, he's got his own style. His aesthetics are incredible. Cast is insane. Schwartzman acting out of his mind. I think in that movie.
Scarlett Johansson is so good.
She's so good in it.
It's like one of her best performances in a minute, and I don't think she got the credit she deserved for that.
I don't think like Jeffrey Wright or even Hanks is very good in that as well. I'm looking forward to Phoenician Scheme. and just having more Wes. I mean,
Saw
Oscar
that
winner.
one,
Wes
saw
now.
that trailer in the Sinners screening. Didn't really play
No, it didn't play with that crowd.
in the room. No,
Did you like it though?
at the 10 p.m. Sinners screening didn't really work.
Did you like it?
Yeah, like
You like Wes?
I like what I have a hard time seeing a Wes Anderson trailer and being like, oh, another Wes Anderson film. Here we go. And I'll probably love it, but I see a trailer and I'm like, yep, that's about what I expected.
I don't think like he has the best trailers in the world, but then I watch the films and then I'm surprised by how much I enjoyed them and loved them. And
No, that's kind of what I'm expecting as
he's
well.
an under hour and 45-minute king. And his movies are never 2 hours long.
Wasn't the French Dispatch pretty long?
That was still an hour 45, I believe. We're going to look this up. French Dispatch. How long was it, Jay? This is what the listeners want to know before we're getting out of here. What was it?
Hour 48.
There you go. There you go. Never. It's a pretty, I mean, like, I wouldn't recommend marathoning all of his films because you're going to pretty much see, like, the same shot setups and everything.
It doesn't, marathoning Wes Anderson movies is not the way to watch Wes Anderson movies.
No, but he's also just got great movies. He's a great filmmaker. Yeah.
In a vacuum, his movies are
just
amazing.
so much, so meticulous. Anyway, that's going to do it for, yes, that is going to do it for this week's show. We will be back next week. We will be talking about King Kong. So thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Griffin, and we will see you all next time.